There you are. And I'm right here. Come on, let's get the day started. Turn your cell phone off so that you can concentrate. I know you're playing that Game Boy and candy corn, and we traveled 6,000 miles last year in November, December, and Angelique played her game for 6,000 miles. Candy Crush, or whatever she does. She's got some good games. One of them is the old style Wolfenstein, but it's a new modern version of Wolfenstein. Hey, look right there. There's Dave. Dave, good afternoon, buddy. Um, I wish I could have your smiling face on here with me on YouTube. You're the representative from Australia. You have so many good people that comes out there. South Moto, South Oz. See, I'll start naming names and I'll be all day. But Australia produces some really good riders. You know, people that love to ride and and just have fun. Yeah, you guys are blessed with an abundance of sunshine. Oh, it goes without saying, Dave. I have watched your popularity grow so much that what I do is I talk to other groups and I go. I have a dear friend, Dave. Oh yeah, we know Dave. Oh, he's that guy that right, you know. And so the word is out there. You're almost like a household word. Uh, can you imagine what a hero you'd be if you showed up at Forgotten Angels? Oh my God, they would be people say, "Oh, you're that guy," or just for no somehow if it could be arranged, you showed up at VAM. Oh hell, I think Moto Bomb would probably have an orgasm. Yeah, because he promotes VAM and people are really planning up a big yard. I listen to everybody, getting their um, motel reservations and all that stuff, and looking forward. I mean, this is going to look. In fact, remember we was going last year, but poor little Angelique, she came down with some female problems, and she had to have a lot of visits to the doctor and to the clinic and stuff like that. And I mean, typical things that women go through. We don't, us guys, we're lucky. We don't have anything in that capacity. uh, yep, you didn't crawl out from under a bridge, or uh, you just make a big glass of beer sound so good. When you're over at Fremantle and you got all the people, people that comes to visit there, and you do a little boost in there with your harmonica or whatever, you draw a crowd. And how many people I know in your lifetime would make remarks like, "Oh my God, is that beard real? Could that beard be?" I'm so used to reaching and rubbing mine. Well, Dave, I'm happy that you was the first one to come to visit me today, and I I took a little ride yesterday to go get gas, and it was so beautiful. I'm gonna tell you, Dave, the ride I done yesterday, I changed my camera up on my GoPro a little bit. I went from the wide format to linear, and it brought everything up closer. Um, but the sky was so spectacular. The clouds were in a rolling fashion, and there is Miss EB, motorcycle Santa. Look here, right there, Dave. There's Miss EB all up in the house. Now I never got to ask Miss EB if she got to make it home to the Philippines yet. I believe I've been seeing her. I've been seeing some stuff um, still coming from her place of employment. Well, I'm an old guy, and old guys. Well, you're close. You're very when you get my age, you're very close to the big sleep. uh, Miss EB, did you get to make it back? Let me see. Oh, oh, well, bless your heart. It's just 2 more months. And uh, you live a good lifestyle, right, where you're at. You've got everything that you could imagine. But getting home there, see, I spent 40 years in the Pacific Northwest. 40 years. I left here in 59, left here in 59 and came back here in 97. No, I left in 57, came back in 97, came back to Alabama. And what a homecoming. I knew I was back home. I went to a ham radio show in Dalton, Georgia. It's a big event. My first year I got to Alabama, I got here in August, and I went to the Dalton Ham Fest, where all the ham radio operators get together and sell and trade, and it's like a motorcycle jamboree. And there's thousands of people shows up. That's the big one in the spring, early spring. And it was a cold morning. Me and a guy named Wesley Baker, we went over to Dalton, Georgia, to this big ham fest. And when I realized I was back home, two older men, older than me at that time, was fighting like cats and dogs in the parking lot. I'm talking about it was a real Donnybrook. They was they was hair and there was snot slinging everywhere, and the law came over and made them sit in the back seat of the car, and they sorted out, and they was fighting over something that was said on the radio 10 years ago, 10 years before that period of time. And they had swore, if I ever see you in the public, I'm going to whoop your ass. Well, that was the day they got together. I knew I was back in the South. See, where I come, back in our days, that was the peacemaker. You, Mr. EB, you're like Dave. You represent so many people that love you and followers of yours. I ain't just talking about people follow you to have you to throw them a banana or something like that. No, they love you, Mr. EB. People, every walk of life, I see people from everywhere joins in with Mr. EB. And you sure are a cook. I That drove me to your show. I was scanning across and I run across this lady that was cooking fish, and she had a good looking skillet. I liked her skillet. I'm kind of like have a you know how people have foot fetishes or maybe tiny hand fetish or whatever. There's all kind of fetishes. Mine is skillets. I've never met a skillet that I didn't like. I like cast iron skillets. I like them skillets that's got them little patterns in them. I just bought a I just bought $150 skillet at Costco's. $150 skillet for one skillet, and it's a beauty. I ain't gonna cook in it. I just go in there and look at it hanging there. I go, oh, you beautiful skillet. See, I've already exposed so much about me as a human being that has a skillet fetish because the skillet produces beautiful food, and I love a lot of food. If you ever meet me, you realize I'm bigger than life. Because I eat a lot. I eat out a lot. I'm not one of them kind of people now. If I come into your establishment and I order maybe a steak, I may be craving steak and I just don't want to cook today, and I go in and I have a steak. If it's not done the way I like, I have been known to send it back to get it just the color that I want, what I'm looking for. Um, but I don't ever go to Yelp or none of those places and write a bad review. I don't ever do that. The meat had too much gristle in it. The meat was tough. It was whatever the case may be. I don't go and blab about it in these food review places. What I do is I never go back. Now, not that I'm going to really hurt their business much, but my not going back pleases me that I never have to endure another steak from that place. And then I found little hole in the wall places, not all the way, all the time. Some of the most delicious food comes out of that little hole in the wall. Not their big fabulous name. And I have found out in Chile, you can stop at a beer joint and eat some of the best chili in a beer joint. Gillies, Gillies was a place. Gillies was over there in Fort Worth, Texas, and every time that we was working the Texas area, I used to be at Lackland Air Force Base in Kelly and Fort Sam Houston, but we would go up to Gillies and we went there for the food and the music. A lot of they had quite a few different bands at Gillies, and we had so much fun up there. That's one of the things I miss about my youth is the fun that we had. I like them little cowgirls. I ain't kidding you. I like them little cowgirls. They they provided Old Mack a good time, just in life. Oh, I used to go to them big line dances. Oh, man, I tell you, a good steak when you're eating it, and you especially if you got some like French toast, and you got that au jus and that sopping stuff in the plate. I was at the Montana Steakhouse in Billings, Montana, and the guy said, "Are you up for one of our Montana steaks?" I said, "Hell yes! I got to try me a Montana steak." And I had a big twice baked potato, twice baked they call it. They got all that stuff in it, and I could have got cottage fries or big French fries or whatever, and French toast, real big thick French toast, and they brought that dinner plate. So I don't have a dinner plate in here to show you, but it was a dinner plate size steak. I said, I bet that thing's going to be rugged. Oh my God. And I cut into it and it was so delicious. I fell in love with that place. Every time we travel through, I've taken Angelique. So I took her all the way to Montana. That's a long way so she can get a Montana steak. And the last time I had the filet mignon wrapped in applewood bacon, altar wood or what, or smoked altar wood bacon wrapped around the fillet. And we got that in just the gateway, the north gateway into Yellowstone Park. We parked down there for about a week. And golly, I ate at that place. That filet mignon was so tender that I have tried to replicate it. I've only had one or two after that I fixed myself that even came close. I'm making myself hungry. I ain't kidding. That's the reason I got up this morning. I said, time to have a big hearty breakfast. Well, here local, my time, it's what, 3:45? Yeah, 3:46 a.m. Central Standard Time, 3:46. She won't be up for another 3 or 4 hours. She, poor little thing. She is a great sidekick, somebody that you like to travel with because she never complains about anything. She never whines about, well, she whined about Nebraska. She didn't like Nebraska. Hey, I've watched you cook, Dave. I've seen and you guys, you've got some good beef over there. I don't know if I've ever eaten what to call a beef imported from Australia. I don't know. I don't know if I have or not. And of course, I've never been there, but um, I can't imagine you guys have got some good beef there. We we've traveled quite a bit in America because the job I had, they used to send us to a lot of places, a lot of remote locations. That's really I spent my time up there in Montana, and I've never understood cold weather until I got there. But I want to tell you something great about cold weather. Minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. That would be a typical winter weather there in Lewistown. That's right in the center of Montana. I spent my time there in Lewistown, and you never get a cold. You don't ever get a bad cold. You don't ever get to nothing. You don't have any allergies, nothing. When it's minus 40, it's like a sterile condition. your bacterias and stuff. They're not being spread around. Dave, I just had two marble steaks. You might have seen it. I made a I put in fact I had a picture. I don't have it on here of my steaks. And I fixed it. They were so marbled that golly, they were just full of juice. And I got those at Piggly Wiggly. And Angelique said, "We're going to get more of them." They were black Angus, grain fed black Angus, not lot fed, but grain fed. And they were so good. We buy most of our meat at Piggly Wiggly. That's a chain of stores we have here in the South. Dave, you've seen me ride my motorcycle at Piggly Wiggly. In fact, I got a T-shirt, and I bought a maybe more than one T-shirt from Piggly Wiggly that has the Piggly Wiggly guy on the back, a little hog with a wearing his hat on his head, and I was riding a hog with a hog on my back. Piggly Wiggly, yeah, it's a Piggly Wiggly is an old chain of grocery stores. But here's what they do: they buy grass-fed stuff. They buy what they do is they go to these big ranchers and they buy their not lot-fed but grass-fed, like with their pork. And one time I got a bad batch of pork chops. The meat was tough from Piggly Wiggly, and so I asked. I said, "Why was the pork so tough?" And he told me, he said, all the old farmers, they know when to slaughter their animals at the right phase of the moon. And he said, in this case here, we had a new farm that we picked up because they made an offer for our company to buy their pork. And we didn't bid them very well. We didn't go out and do a lot of investigating. And he was the kind of guy that didn't observe any lunar phasing. I know it sounds old fashioned. If you look up the Farmer's Almanac, yeah, that's a story is a really, really good quality. They're a little bit more pricier because they're competing against the giants, and they have to lure customers like myself in by having their little niche they have, and provide real good quality meat and their eggs and the milk. We only drink milk from Piggly Wiggly, and we buy our meat from Piggly Wiggly. But he explained it. The guy, I was in Knob Noster, Missouri, and the guy was talking about they go over there in Missouri and they make a contract with these pig farmers, and they have to meet Piggly Wiggly standards on meat. And then that's the reason it costs more, because it's a select purchase. That's their story, and they're sticking to it. Uh, yeah, I had a ride. I was telling you, Dave, yesterday. The clouds were rolling horizontal in the sky. We get that phenomenon that occurs because you got the warm air coming up off the Gulf, and you still have the cold, frigid polar air come down. Instead of a vertical roll like a hurricane or a tornado, it's horizontal roll, and the clouds roll, and it's like currents in the ocean. The clouds are like swirling in long rows of clouds, and it's beautiful. We get that every year. Well, thank you very much, Dave. I appreciate that. Um, I was pretty excited the other day. Frogzilla was advertising somebody. I don't think Frog did it. I think somebody else Oh, it was, I think Motorbomb might have put it on there. Frogzilla's got a line of hoodies and sweaters and gloves and all kinds of stuff, like a big list of stuff. And I told Angelique, I said, she came in the room about that time, and I had her to order us a couple of his the hoodies, and it's got the big on the back. It's got the big cannabis leaf with a frog sitting on the leaf. You guys have that in portions of Australia as well. I've seen the biggest ever recorded was in Australia, and it only happens rarely because we have conditions here that almost never changes. You got the warm air stuff off the Gulf and the cold coming from the Arctic. Now, over in a portion of your Australia, there was one they captured from an airplane that was 50 or 60 miles long, one roller. And I saw it on the Discovery Channel, and it was in Australia, and I cannot remember. It was sort of diagonal to your country. It kind of had a diagonal line across your country, and it was one of the. Of course, everything in Australia is bigger, wilder, stranger, different. And if you don't believe that is not so, you tried to explain to me about the duckbill platypus. Now that creature is the only known mammal that has poison, a poisonous mammal. Mammals are not poison, but that duckbill platypus is a poisonous animal. It's got a spur, the male does, and that spur it's used like during mating. It's a hormone or whatever, but it has effect upon humans. It's not good. Oh yeah, I just happen to need a couple of sweatshirts, and when I saw that up there, I said I got to have it. Yeah, how about that? A mammal gives birth, not the duckbill platypus. It's a mammal, and it lays eggs, and it's also poisonous, making it. And listen to this: the little lady, as you know, Dave, the little lady has teats. Now, how can them little babies suck a teat with a beak? The milk she lactates, and the babies get up there and lap it up. Man, that must be a fine meal. Lay up on mama's belly, lapping up that good nutritional mama's love. But that animal right there, buddy, defies all logic. Yeah, yeah, Darwin. That's right. Um, yeah, I set back everything I ever knew about a mammal and cold-blooded versus reptile and all that kind of stuff. It just and there's a lot of things. It's like it was the term Pangea. Uh, the emu. That's another special animal. You remember in Pangea when the land masses was all together at one time, but a few million years ago, Pangea, Africa separated from this continent, and all of a sudden you guys were down there isolated. You was a continent completely isolated from all this other um, things that was going on in other places of the world. Yeah, Pangea. Well, man, it wasn't. That must have been something. They explained why there's artifacts in different parts of the continent the same as they are in other places. Because at one time we were the continent before the continental shift and everything started breaking up. Oh, well, hey, Joyce, I'm glad you spotted her over there. I didn't see her over there. Joyce, it's only 2 o'clock your time, almost two, and you're probably been thinking about going to bed for a little while. Hey, I'm so happy you're in here because when I get up in the morning, Joyce, every morning I put my feet on the floor. I thank the good Lord for giving me another day. And when I look over on the screen and I see my sister on the screen with me, I thank the Lord that He has given you another day. You know, the continents are still shifting. Mount Everest, when this shift took place, everything shifted, pushed all that range, that whole Himalayan thing over there. Um, so it grew and grew and grew, and now she's shrinking down. She's going down. So that means the weight, the mass is pushing the continent plates around. Now, where Joyce lives, there's a plate up there on the Pacific plate that's called Cascadia. That plate is pushing under the plate that goes all the way to Yellowstone. And in doing so, Yellowstone is America's largest volcano. Um, it's something like 125 miles across. And it's got the thinnest crust, thinnest layer. It's only like 6 or 7 miles down, and you're down out of the crust. That is going to heave up, and it's going to be catastrophic when it occurs. Joyce living up there where it's, I think they said it's thousands of years overdue, and she lives under that all the time there in the Pacific Northwest. Oh man, I've been when I was at Joyce's house back in the winter, back in December, November to December. They went to Costco and got these beautiful buns. Um, what do they call those things? Croissants. And I ate that whole bag over a period of a month. I ate that whole bag of croissants. I did like them croissants. Well, how about our our niece? Is Pam out of the hospital and she doing well? Buttery croissants. That's right. They just melt in your mouth. Huh. Well, we don't have anything planned up today. It's going to be in the 70s. It's going to go up to 77 degrees by Wednesday of next week. 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh my gosh, everybody been waiting for that. My signal's not very good today. I checked it before getting on, so I may go off. I may go off any time. I may have already went off. I don't know. I don't have my TV on, so I can't tell if I've gone off yet. I have a little thing down on the toolbar. Oh, thank you, Joyce. I appreciate that. Chasing Ghost. Hello, hello, hello. I'm happy you took the time to join us this morning. Are you going to play anything on your guitar for us today? Oh, we don't have any. I can't get you on the screen. YouTube. It would be nice if we could. I think one of these days there's going to be enough people to go, looky, why can't you be more like StreamYard and let us have a couple of guests, 3 or 4 guests up here? YouTube, well, I think the way YouTube would look at it is their clients, the one that uses YouTube like myself, if given opportunity, oh my gosh, well, at least you got better weather. You're not doing it in a tornado or a blizzard. Better weather than what we have had. I'm seeing quite a bit of change in the weather, and I hope that change is coming your way so that you. When I was over the road driver, one of the things I hated was putting chains on, and the other thing I hated was putting tarps. I used to do what they call 6 or 7 drops between here and Washington State. And every drop, you got to untarp. I was a flatbed driver, so skateboard. And I had to tarp and untarp. One time I took a load to the West Coast, I had 7 drops to make. Now you get paid for all your drops, every time you tarp and untarp, but there ain't nothing fun about 30 below zero. Your tarp is frozen solid. You got to get the forklift driver to use his forks to press the tarp down when you fold it so you can get it in its bunker, to haul that thing. And then you take the truck back and you park it in the yard 2 or 3 days later, and then have some truck driver whining about his tarp being all wet and everything because there was an inch of ice on it when I put it down there. That's just the laugh of a flatbed driver. Well, I hope you enjoy your ride tomorrow, Dave. That's a pretty coast over there. I just think you guys have got it so much better on the western side. I know we get down to Sydney, you got Sydney Harbor and all that stuff, but my God, the congestion and all the humanity and the friggin' law. When I was a kid, I was always scared of the Australian police. It was the movies. We were influenced by the movies we saw in our day, and the movie always presented the Australian law as being pretty tough. Speaking about the law, yesterday I was watching. Well, there's a series of races that's going on in America. It's called Sick Week, and the way it works, Dave, is you take your car and the rules are you got to race at like 5 different racetracks for 5 days, and you got to haul all of your stuff is either in the trailer or in the bed of the truck or inside of the station wagon, but you race. And now these cars, some of them are running 6 seconds. So they're not slow cars, 6 seconds and a quarter of a mile. I watched a car a couple of days ago at 227 miles per hour, the windshield blew in on him. 227 miles per hour. So they're driving really fast cars. So yesterday, while they was driving, they got up by Orlando. And see, we got some terrible police in a lot of places, but I got to say, them boys, the law there handle the situation really good. They caught them without having license plates on their race car. They just didn't have the plates on them. They had registration. They had proof of insurance, but one of them told one of the stars of the show, he said, "I will take you to jail if I see this vehicle on the road." So now two of them got stopped yesterday during the racing event while they was on the highway going. It's a 1,000-mile drive in the week, and that one week they got to not only race, but they got to drive 1,000 miles to the different tracks. Oh my God! Well, drops can be different. Well, one time I took a 36,000-pound air compressor, Ingersoll Rand air compressor, to one of the big cotton mills over there in Fort Payne, Alabama. They weighed 37,000 pounds. So I get over there, and now I back up to the dock, and they hooked on to this. It's on a skid, big metal skid, and they hooked on to this air compressor to drag it into the facility. And their little wheels are spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning. And they went and got their bigger forklift, and they still couldn't drag it off my truck. So I said to the guy, "Do you have a 2-inch water pipe, 8 or 9 foot long?" He said, "Oh, there must be one around here somewhere." And they went and got a 2-inch water pipe, black water pipe. He said, "What are you going to do with that?" They all gathered up watching how this old truck driver, how was he going to get this down 37,000-pound forklift, a 37,000-pound air compressor off the flatbed. So I said, "See those little slots here at the end of this thing here?" "Yeah." I said, "Stick your forks in there and lift up from the end. Just lift it up. Bring your big boy and lift that thing up." They did. I laid the pipe under the steel rails. I said, "Now pull it out." And they drug it out with just no problem at all. I said, that style of technology was back during the Roman days or back during the Egyptian days. That's the oldest technology in the world. Use a roller, man. Here, truck drivers have to teach these folks how to get the. One thing about it, you have to come up all kinds of ways to help them to get that crap off your truck so you can move on to the next location. Oh, it wasn't a Pettibone. I've got a lot of years with the Pettibone. I've got a lot of years with the Pettibone. They use them on every military site to put the workers down in the deep hole and lower the basket down, and all of your equipment has to go into the deep hole of a Minuteman silo. The Pettibone's what they use to. That's the number one piece of equipment that's in use out in the field. That and a lull, as of course a lift that they can go up 3 or 4 stories up with it, and lift a heavy load. 180,000 pounds. I did haul a an excavator that was bigger than my truck wide. I had to have, well, I had to have wide permits for this thing, and it wasn't nowhere near that heavy. Maybe half that weight. Maybe it could have been a half that weight. But we have had overweight tags on the truck and extra width, and but I hauled that, and we took pictures over there in Pascagoula, Mississippi, and I sent the pictures by email to the home office once they got it done, so they could see how many permits I had to have to take that thing. I believe it had to go to Miami. They was digging out the canals in Miami down there, and we had to take it from wherever I picked it up over there to Miami, and they had to get us the permits. Then I hauled a V12 Caterpillar engine up to Illinois from Key Machinery in Birmingham, and it was a V12, fully V12 of all its stuff. Had twin turbochargers sitting high up on the top of the back of the engine. Big. We're talking about big turbochargers. And one of my when I was using it come along, the chain and everything. When I went from I-65 to make the cutover to I-24 going north out of Nashville, the truck was rocking like this because it was under construction. And I looked over there and I see my come along dangling. I go, oh hell, it's come loose. Anyhow, I said, well, it'll be good enough till I can get on out of this traffic and get up on I-24. I believe I was going to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, Clarksville, Tennessee. It was a load I was hauling for the military. Yeah, no, I had to stop in Clarksville because I had to pick up a blade. Then it went also up to Illinois. Anyhow, the thing was rocking like this. When I took the second glance back there, the side of the frame, the platform that is holding this V12 engine in there, I saw it at the edge of my rail. That means it's already come over, and now my bed has got a lean to it. I could see it. So I finally got pulled over. Oh my God, I was at the edge. If it had went another 6 inches, it would have flopped over, shifted everything, and old Mack would be up there like a turtle on its back. It would have been pitiful. So I took that come along, that when it popped loose, and I went over on this side, over on the driver's side, and ratcheted that thing an inch at a time till I drug that whole weight back, and I put double come alongs on it, and we was able to get the load finally delivered. I hauled dragline buckets, for these huge dragline buckets. The dragline buckets would be 8 foot wide. And I don't remember, I think each of them weighed 15 or 16,000 pounds, 7 or 8 tons each, maybe 10 tons. Then I've hauled many heavy overloaded. As long as you're permitted, you can do all right. If my signal starts going bad, Dave, please let me know we have a term here in the stateside called if I start going gunny bag. Well, I'm happy Connie is. I know she must be happy that her daughter's out of the hospital. Well, I guess we all have a lot to be thankful for. And I'm thankful for the pretty weather that's coming up. I know 2-4 up in Nova Scotia is just chomping at the bit. He wants to go for a ride so bad. Chasing Ghosts, are you going to go back down to the Forgotten Angel camp out this spring? Well, that was a tragedy in Pennsylvania last night, that an emergency flight that crashed. Oh my gosh, that really hurt, because they do so much good for so many people. Those meta flights, they have to haul some out in and out of some congested areas with air traffic. When I come up, we always thought of things occurring in threes. That's two major aircraft incidents so far this year in 2025. And as of course, as you know, today is February the 1st for us. And so they things usually come in threes, as I have observed in almost 85 years. So I'm worried about the next big event. That doesn't always happen that way, but you hear about a movie star that dies, and next thing you know, you hear about two others that dies, and usually you breathe a sigh of relief after the third one. Not that you want to see anybody go. If my signal is starting to look bad now, y'all let me know, because I'll waddle off in the kitchen, get me a cup of coffee, and wait for the signal to get good again. It's usually when the signal goes bad, I unplug the router and let it sit there for a minute or two. That'd be just the right amount of time to run into the kitchen and then plug it back in. I can do this. Let me see this. I think I can do this, and I'll tell you in just a second. Put my speed tester on. I can tell you how many pings we got. It's going all the way to Waycross, Georgia, my nearest connection. I'm going to switch it down. I'm going to go over to Birmingham. I don't think you guys are seeing this, but that way I'll know if I got a signal. 18 pings. That ain't going to be good. All right. Looks like my upload speed is I'm seeing 210, 211. It ended up being 210. That's my download was 210. Now my upload is like, you got to have upload. It's important. I've got a low 14. The system will run at 14. We're just going to let it go at that. So I know I still have a signal. Let me, whoops, wrong way. Hang on. Get my flag lined up. I hate it when my flag gets in a kilter. And let me drop this down here a little bit. There we go. Well, the world's centered up now. I had everybody in the world leaning over like this, trying to line up. Thomas Bailey. This is early morning. I've already done my sleeping. I usually try to go to bed by 11:30, and I was back up at 15 after 3. Time I got it started up, I went on the air at 3:29 a.m. Central Standard Time. I couldn't get on last night. I wanted to do a late show last night, but I couldn't get on. I didn't have any internet. The system was down, not me. The system was down. And, but such is life. Say it again. Such is life. Well, Thomas, tell me what you've got planned up here this morning. Oh yeah, oh yeah. I have nothing on this end to bitch or bellyache about. Because if you look historically, now they are 85-year-old people. There's lots of them. In fact, there's getting to be more of them than ever before. But a lot of them left us when they become in their 60s. They begin to get a little dawdling, and they didn't make it into the golden years with sensibility. I'm the Well, I had a doctor tell me one time, I used to be concerned about me not getting enough sleep. I always had a feeling like I was burning the candle on both ends. And the doctor told me it was pure bullshit. When they said you needed 8 hours of sleep, you don't need 8 hours of sleep. You need rest. REM sleep is really important. If you get 15 minutes of REM sleep, that makes up for 5 or 6 hours of restless wallowing and rolling in the bed. REM, rapid eye movement, REM, rapid eye movement. You get to a REM stage of sleep. It allows the mind to relax, the brain. All your body gets replenished and you feel refreshed. Tara can tell you, there's people that suffer immensely, I know. Tara would tell you a power nap is the greatest sleep you've ever going to get in a truck. I have done this more than once. The sleeper will be right behind me. And all I got to do is get up out of the seat and crawl up into the sleeper and go to sleep. But you got a schedule you got to keep, and you look and you know you've got 15 or 20 minutes, that the most that you can afford, the amount of time. Reach over and grab your pillow and lay it right here against the window. Put your head right there in the pickle park while you're laying up in the pickle park. Put that head right over there and just zonk out for 15 minutes. Poof. Oh my God, you get up and you're ready to go for another 8 hours. I think you'll appreciate this, Dave. Last night, Theo was whining. I heard him over there whining. Now he's got lots of food in his bowl. He's got dry food. And I don't feed him wet food at night. I don't ever put the wet food. But while we was gone yesterday, the wet food that I had put in the bowl, you might say, look at that bowl. They polished that bowl. And I thought I thought once about maybe putting some more some more wet food in here. And I reached over and got the pan, and they both sat there and look up at me like, yeah, like, oh boy, come on, give us another can. And it's still sitting right there this morning. And over here, oh damn, I got hung up, man. My umbilical cord. There is plenty of dog food and a water bowl, and there's a jug. There's a 2-gallon jug of water right over there. So I don't want anybody to, oh, look at my camera. It has went, my camera has went, oh, Lord. My camera has rebelled on me. And now we got it centered up again. Yep. Yeah, I'm very well aware of that, Tara. It's, yeah, when I was a team runner, I had a lady, she was a retired Army nurse. She worked in the Veterans Administration, and she was a U.S. Army nurse at the Veterans Administration. And when she retired, she went to college to learn to be an over the road driver. And she came to our company, they hired her. And so they decided to team her up with me and Miss Jenny. And she she was a night owl. She worked night shift for all those years in the Veteran Administration in the hospital. She she liked to do in the night run. I would do a double shift, 5 on and 5 off. I would do 10 straight, and she would do the nighttime running that she preferred. She enjoyed that. And at early in the morning before the sun rises, oh my God, it's hard to keep them eyes open, and you got all kinds of techniques you use to keep yourself concentrating on your load or whatever you're doing. And but it can be awesome, especially looking into the sun when you in the morning when the sun starts kind of ain't no way you can avoid it. You can do everything in the world to try to get your eyes out of the sun, but you're going to end up looking right at that ball of fire. And some in that, yeah. I used to listen to a late radio show when I was over the road called the Dr. Demento Show. It was a little bit wacky, but it was entertaining, and I enjoyed that. And he had a lot of night owls and people that would come and join him in his wackiness. Dr. Demento. He was across the nation. I don't know if he's still with us. I don't know. It's like everything come and go. Like Wolfman Jack, I've listened to him all across the nation. Well, that was back when AM was king. Back in our days, when I first started out, I used to haul for Alabama Tank Line when I was really young. We hauled jet fuel and asphalt, and all we had was AM radio. And there's old drivers right now today, they still only listen to AM. It works good except on a cloudy or stormy night. AM just is a horrible thing to listen to of all that static and fading in and out. We used to get a radio station out of Del Rio, Texas, and we could hear that thing for 1,000 miles. In fact, I bought a new Lincoln Continental. No, wasn't a Continental, Lincoln Town Car that had AM stereo in it. I don't do the hate mongering stuff. There's just way too much. As a truck driver, there's always the Rambo radio. It comes on at 5 in the evening. They want to whoop every driver's ass on the road, and I couldn't handle the hate mongering stuff because and the talking heads get paid 15 to 30 million dollars a year to bring you nothing but bad news. How horrible everything is. Oh, it just puts weight on your shoulders. I can't handle that. I I need entertainment, and what I done is when the satellite radio got up there, Cyrus, and we had one before that, I bought a subscription to it, and so I had constant entertainment with no hate in my life. You're going to get all that hate when you get to the terminal. You're going to get all that hate by DOT. Look at them Gestapo DOTs in Missouri, the little bastards there come out in their little black Nazi-looking black clothes they wear with a pistol on the side, dealing with a truck driver. Dealing with a truck driver, a pistol on your side, like they're going to have to kill you. I'm going to have to kill you. If your weight's too heavy, I'm going to have to kill you. Oh, what the hell kind of society you live in where a damn DOT, a guy that's just absolutely working for the public to make sure you don't have an overload, has to think about killing a truck driver because his load's too big or some lip he's going to be giving you. If you can't handle a job as a DOT, walk up to a trucker and converse with him and find out about his logbook and the information you know and stay civil. You don't belong in that job. Your ass should belong in working at a penitentiary somewhere, where you can, when you don't feel good, you can go back there and beat a guy, make you feel better, take him into that side room and beat him and all that bullshit. There's some sick human beings in this world, and I don't deal with them very good. I've always had a little bit of a mean side on me. And I don't mean to be mean, but I will only tolerate just so much bullshit. That's just the way I am. Oh, they are some sadistic people. I'll tell you what happened to me. Um, I got caught up in a bad accident in St. Louis, Missouri. Now, I've already got it. My route is going to be really clear. I'm going to cross the state of Missouri. I'm going to turn and go north on I-29. And I'm going to stop at the Flying J. As soon as I get up out of Kansas City, I'm going to stop at the Flying J there. I know what mile marker it is, everything. So it's going to be just so cool. But I got caught up in this thing. And I wasn't running team. I was running solo at that time. When I pulled at the DOT station there, the last one in Missouri before you go on into Kansas City and go north, the little low laugher, he seen that I was out in my book. I told him, I said, well, there's a major pileup down there. And I said, I can show you my logbook. I stop at the Flying J there all the time. And it's not got to give you a timeout. So he makes me go out there to set out. I had to go serve a penalty. I can't move my load for 2 hours. About 1 hour into sitting there, I got out of the truck and went to the back, to the honey bucket, porta potty they had sitting out there, and done my business. Got back in the truck. Oh, sure, I could have pissed in a jug like a lot of drivers do, but I didn't. I want to stretch my legs a little bit. I had a hard night. It was an all night. I pulled from Rimlap, Alabama. I had a load of steel, and I was tired. So I get back in my truck, and I sit there and I watch the clock, and finally my time is up. Well, by the time this occurred, the shift had changed. So I go strutting over to go get my logbook and stuff. They kept everything. Went to get my stuff. And I said, I've served my penalty. I'm ready to go. And he said, no, the guy on the other shift said he saw you out of your truck because he sent you to the sleeper line. You got to go on your logbook and go down to the sleeper line. And he said, you broke that contract between you and him when you got out of the truck. I said, well, I had to go take a piss. He said, did you come and ask him for permission? I said, when I was a little boy in the first grade of school was the last time I ever asked anybody for permission to go take a piss. And I ain't going to start. I was already like 67 years of age. I ain't going to start now. Well, they made me set the full 8 hours. I had to go do 6 more hours. When I got through, he hands me my clear. I'm good. I can now start my new 14-hour cycle. I said, you just allowed me now to run basically around the clock, 24 hours a day. He said, well, it's a little flaw in the system. I said, but you realize I haven't slept any since yesterday when I picked my load up. No time. I said, if they'd have left me alone, I would have been up at the Flying J, and I'd be doing my 8 hours off the road. I just don't understand. I just don't understand a public servant, just a scale master, a chicken coop operator. If he wasn't running the chicken coop, he'd be out there picking cotton somewhere. I'm telling you, and for them to give them a gun, I'm gonna tell you, when that guy made me go and stay the rest of the 6 more hours, finish up to 8 hours, I raised my voice to him, and he unbuckled his gun and looked me right in the face, and he said, "I will knock your ass out." He's telling me this. He doesn't have the gun in his hand, but he unbuckled his gun. He said, "Shut your mouth and sit down till I finish your paperwork. You got to go back out there," talking to me like I was low life and trash, like I was an evil person. All I was doing is hauling cargo for the American hardworking contractors that's building a bank building in Linwood, Washington. All I want to do is just get my load of steel and get it off my truck so I can get started back to Alabama. So that's some of the little whining bullshit that you get into out there on the road. And that's what makes Rambo Radio. This anger and frustration built up by the DOT that treats you like you're low life and trash with the fear tactics. The goon squad come out there knowing, and what they did is they wrote me up there in that same place. That's Odessa, Missouri. Look it up. Odessa, Missouri is the last scale house on I-70. I had a 1/4 inch cut in my strap. Now I've got a lot of straps hanging down on the rail down there, but the strap I threw across the load had a 1/4 inch cut, and he wrote me up for it. Yeah, they get that little man syndrome thing and start wanting to pistol whip somebody. Not all truck drivers are pleasant people either. I mean, you get some assholes on the road and they come in there and probably talk down to you, say things, and it makes you angry. But you as a public servant should be able to handle that. Just get your time in, get your traffic on down the road, let them deliver their loads, keep them within the confines of the law, but don't bring your attitude to the game, because there's people that cannot handle your attitude. And if they deny themselves the opportunity not to knock you out or to hurt you so your family will never see you again, or do something that's going to get you as a truck driver in prison because of your attitude, and you build this up in your body all day long, and at 5 o'clock in the evening, it's now Rambo Radio time. Get on and tell everybody what a Billy badass you are. uh, I do love the over the road driving, because it's just the perfect job for me for not needing sleep. But when I got my team driver, Miss Johnny, life was so good. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, absolutely. The fear tactics. You as a driver, you know you're a little bit out in your logbook. You as a driver, you know you're managing your blog. This is back during the days when you had logbooks, not the e-log and stuff they got now, but back when you had more control over your situation. Uh, they they knew that you had probably something that you didn't want. You know, like when they do the walk around, nobody wants to ever drive a truck with a defective equipment. It not only will it kill other people, but it'll kill you. And so you're always wanting to make sure you got everything there running good and everything. But I'm talking about the little cheating maybe in the logbook here, fudge a little bit and fudge a little bit there, and within your ability. And they're always trying to extract out of you. Like on the back of your logbook in the old days, you have what they call a recap. So you make a change in your logbook. You open up, take the pens out, change the leaf, change and put a new page in, correct everything, and make your logbook perfect, just the way it should be. You'd better look at that back page back there and make sure you correct everything here, because I have seen many a DOT guy turn that book around and on the recap page and they go, uh-huh, mm-hmm, yep, that's $175. Yeah. Let me tell you what happened to me. I was up there in Cairo, Illinois, where I-65 starts. And I was at the Flying J. I had my breakfast. I look up on the wall, and there is the time in Cairo, Illinois. And so I'm doing my logbook, and everything was fine. And I'm ready to go. I got me a belly full of eggs and bacon, and I'm ready to head on down. So I get down to Elizabeth, I can't even say Elizabeth, Kentucky, at the scale house there. So I pull in. The lady on the loudspeaker, she said, "Driver, bring your paperwork and come inside. Pull over there. Pull over there." They got the lights, tell you to go over there. So I went over there and I come walking in and she says, one of your, I was driving a Freightliner and had them lights up on the roof, up by the sun visor thing. He said, "One of your lights are out." And she made me go out there and look. And sure enough, there was a light out. And I did my walk around and all my lights was working. And she's now pulled me over. And then she sits down and she's going to write me a ticket for this light being out on the truck. And then she said, "Oh, we got a problem." She said, "I got to write you up for an average speed of 81 miles per hour." I go, "Bullshit. I ain't running to a goddamn 81 mile per hour average speed." She said, "Well, you left Wisconsin, and you second time when you logged in over, it was such and such time at Cairo, Illinois, and that would make you run an average of 81 miles per hour." I go, "No, that is not." What I done is I looked at the wall clock and logged it down, but they're 1 hour different than us because you run on your own time. You run on your time. But I didn't. I didn't look at my arm. The clock was right there, and my brain froze, I guess, and I logged their time. And then I had to put my initials and state that I made a mistake, an hour mistake in the book. Just like a little boy, I held my head down in shame as she squashed the back of my neck with her boot. And that was Christmas time. And anyhow, that kind of stuff just builds up in you. So there's the explanation of why there's so many Angry truck drivers. Yeah. How the hell can you know? How about them? How about the chicken? What we call chicken haulers? Got the chicken lights. They got 96 lights down one side, 96 down the other. The law is very clear about that. If you got 180 or 90 lights on your truck, all of them's got to work, and you got one of them is out, it's a ticket. They love it. That's how they make their money. Pull shit like that. Old chicken. The guy got all them chicken lights on his rig there. He'd better walk around it. We hauled a load out of Birmingham for Deaton, the Deaton Corporation, which is now Western. What is it called? Western. I don't remember what the name of it is now. It used to be Deaton, and there was a truck there with no on the flatbed. He had no wheels in the back end of it, and he had drug it all the way to the main gate before the guard told him he couldn't go out on the road. And he said, "Why not?" He said, "Well, take a look," and walk back there and take a look. He had no rear wheels. He backed up and hooked onto a trailer that they had removed the wheels to put new brake shoes on, and it was a tag out, lockout situation. And he backed up and hooked up to that trailer, and when he pulled forward, he pulled it off the drums, and that they had the trailer sitting up on two 55-gallon drums, and drug it all the way to the guard gate. And when he looked at his logbook, when you do your walk around in the morning, when you do your walk around, he had done the walk around, but somehow he didn't notice there was no rear wheels. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, of all them beautiful lights, you like to. Yeah, you run across all kinds, and I run across some really. I was up in Pennsylvania, and they have these portable scales up there, and we know this. Every time we go to Pennsylvania, they can set up their scales in a heartbeat, or they already have them set up somewhere, portable scales, and you just pull over and they'll weigh you, and then you go on your way. Hey, Toga, good morning. Um, One time I was in Pennsylvania, and then I saw this guy in my mirror, and he was in the middle lane, and I noticed he pulled in behind me, and he followed me like 8 or 9 miles. He just, every hill up and down. I think I was up in the Poconos, and I was up and down all these hills, and pretty soon the lights go on. So I pulled over. He said, "I got to do a walk around." That's where they inspect your truck. That was the excuse for pulling me over. And then we did the walk around, and he couldn't find anything wrong. And he he said, "Well, I'm going to tell you really the reason I stopped you." He said, "I gotta know what you're hauling." I said, "Well, what do you need to know for?" He said, "I could smell you when you went by, and the smell is beautiful. It smells like cedar." He said, "What are you hauling?" And I started laughing, and I'd picked up a load of cedar, precise cut cedar for Gander Mountain. They was building a Gander Mountain outlet store. They had the big vaulted ceiling with these big cedar beams, and that's what I was hauling. And it was all under tarp because you got to keep the moisture and stuff off of it, and so they can get it framed up into the building. Because we're talking about millions of dollars worth of wood, but the smell was just driving him crazy. Well, thank you also, Toga. That was so human of you to be concerned about the situation we have in America with our aviation, crashing. The one in Pennsylvania, the one, of course, the one in Washington there at Reagan. Um, we all live in the same world, and whatever happens in Turkey affects us as human beings on this side, us that are still human, and we all try to pull together in tragedies. We, as God fearing human beings, try to pull it together during a tragedy, not blame or point fingers. There's enough of that point finger stuff goes around all the time with their investigation here and the accusations there and their own political viewpoints on everything. And then the conspiracy theorists, they'll have a, oh yeah, we know what happened there. We know, don't we? And then they got a spirit, and that makes them more money, and their YouTube channel grows. And but there's good, warm, blooded human beings like yourself, Toga, that sees the horror of the amount of grief and tragedy that comes to different families from plane crashes. Get yourself involved in pointing fingers and making accusations and stuff that you have no idea of what you're talking about. The first thing it should be is the response from your heart, the sadness that be felt by the family members, regardless of what kind of human beings they are. So sad. Oh, yeah. I used to haul with those fellows. I can't remember the company now that always had these belly dump trailers. They was hauling fertilizer, full capacity fertilizer, what is that called? The stuff, fertilizer made up. And they would haul it. And knowing that the diesel fuel, there's 300 gallons of diesel fuel or so on your truck, and all that fertilizer, you're hauling a 80,000 pound bomb down the highway. And as long as the two of them don't come together, and as long as you don't get a igniter or something to ignite this, you're going to be doing all right. Yeah, the one in Philly, that was sad. I'm going to tell you, they're all sad, but if you got a pilot and a co-pilot and a Lear jet that's hauling people that are critically injured or from one hospital to another, air flight, um, they do only nothing but good for human beings. And for one of them to go down, and then the people pointing fingers already knows exactly why it happened. That's just bullshit. But like I said last night to you there, Toga, things run in threes in my world. And I held my breath. I know that probably going to be another. Well, then we had a smaller plane to crash just last night. I saw that. There's a show called the Blanco Lirio show. He breaks down all these plane crashes. I watch him every day, and because I've spent a life in aviation with the military, and when I see something like that happening, I really I listen up to the people that have actually has knowledge of the situation, not the talking heads, the theory. I have a theory. Yeah, if they just leave their damn bullshit theories out of it, sort through that, let the families grieve, let 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 all the people that has kindness in their heart come forward, embrace the loss of these people, and try to figure out how we can prevent this from happening again. And let's move on. It's the safest form of travel. I think that was the first time they'd had an accident in 24 years. I mean, that the first one, the one that went down. This is the worst it's been in 24 years. So if they just let the people get a chance to breathe. We don't ever have a chance to breathe. You're saturated. If I pick my phone up right here and turn it on, first thing is going to pop up. It'll run through here and there'll be stuff. And it'll give me a little notification up here. There's been a major accident. There's been a riot here. There's been an attack by these people. Oh my God, you can't even avoid it. So you go over and watch some TV, turn it on, and you have to go through all that stuff to get to finally where you need to be. So we're saturated with nothing but bad all the time. Everywhere we look, there's something. Even you think it's bad now, give it 30 minutes, it's going to get worse. Everybody has a right to complain, but please just give yourself a break and not complain for a couple of days. Wait till they get all the facts together, and then start your complaining. That's just my opinion, but everybody have the right to do whatever they want to, and they do. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can see the train is pulling in exactly at 5 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. Yeah, them guys that work at the chicken coop, they don't even understand the life of a driver. All they've been given a gun and a pair of black fatigues, and they like to fix their hat look like military style. Like they like to give that, like they think they're in the army or something. They wouldn't be sweat off the balls of a real soldier. Well, let me tell you about Tom Bailey. Let me tell you about DEIs. I've stayed aboard of aircraft carrier called the Nimitz. 7,000 personnel when you're at full staff. That's all your flight crew and all that kind of stuff. You got a jet pilot out there flying a $30 million FA-18. He's a black guy. Was he given preferential treatment to get that position to be a black Navy aviator? Some would say yes. All right, so let's just get past the black pilot coming in. Does the whole crew run and duck under cover, all the sailors down on that deck of that aircraft carrier, because they know there's a black guy fixing to land? He got it by some kind of devious way. He probably was given that position by some government agency. Ain't no black person can fly an airplane. That's what's running this country today, letting them blacks fly them damn airplanes. Soldiers don't run, and the Navy don't run, and they flag the plane in. Down on that deck, you've got all the maintenance people on that deck. There's lots of people on that flight deck, and they come from all walks of life. There's, don't ask, don't tell. You'd be lying to yourself if you believed everybody was straight in the military, and it's not so. It never has been. So you got people of all walks of life on that aircraft carrier of different races, different religious beliefs, and all of them was not just brought into the Navy because of DEI. And people, if you have an incident on the aircraft carrier, the first thing people are going to say, well, they didn't have them damn black guys in there, they ain't well trained. God damn, what kind of hate mongering can you have? I have a good friend of mine. He flies military. He's retired. He's black. He worked his ass and sent himself to college. Aviation was his life. And he flew with my good friend Andy. Andy was a Navy pilot as well. And him and Andy was really close friends. And this guy got every kind of an achievement you can imagine. And then people then started separating people. If you went to this kind of college, or if you was promoted, or if you got a student loan, or some organization sponsored you to go to school, ain't no way you could be a good pilot. People got to let people be human beings. And I've been around a lot of people in my life, and I don't ever concern myself with their sexual lifestyles. It's none of my business. I don't have to carry that burden. And just trying to get through life. If more people would allow other people to live their life and keep their nose out of their business, this world would become a better place, because when Jesus walked amongst all the people in the Middle East when he was born as a Jew boy, a little Jew boy, a lot of people can find ways of hating a Jew boy. His mom and daddy were both Jews and born in an area where there was a lot of hostilities. You had the Romans that rule with iron fist, and you had all kinds of that kind of stuff going on. And he walked amongst all those people. You never heard him saying a bad word about any of them. He had a whore to wash his feet. And you call yourself a Christian when you want to separate people into your little compartments that make you feel good about yourself. Why in the hell can't you and anybody? I ain't referring to you, Tom Bailey. You can be whatever you want to be. I'm talking about a human being. If you have any values to your life, is live your life the fullest you can live, and not try to influence other people to live their life the way you live. Whatever makes you happy may not make somebody else happy. I get so tired of hearing about this. Everything has to be brought on by deficiency in our educational systems. You ain't going to be a Navy pilot until you're fully trained. I don't care if you got a free ride on some kind of a grant because you was black and they moved you in front of all them white boys. The Navy don't work that way. You ain't going to be flying their equipment unless you're fully qualified. Your airline association, they're not going to be sticking pilots up there that is not qualified to fly. They have to be qualified. There's people that have cheated and got around systems and got into positions where they wasn't qualified. Yeah, there's cheaters everywhere. But people that fly those big aircraft, they've worked hard all their life, and their sexual practices should not have a role in their ability to be able to fly an airplane. I talked to my sons. They were all in combat. My boys all went to They went to war for this flag right back here. My sons all went to war for this flag. They was in Fallujah. They got one boy, he's horribly injured. They went to Fallujah. And not once when they was ducking and covering. I also in Afghanistan, same situation. They were overrun at one place up there, and not once did they ask the guy, "Are you a homo?" Before he got into, no, hell no. When you jumped into a pit to keep that damn stuff from falling in on your head and being, you ain't worrying if that sucker in that pit there is a homo or whatever. You're a soldier first, and all the rest of that stuff is your business. There's so many people that wants to mind other people's business and put labels on them and put them in little compartments. And it ain't going to make the world a better place when you do that, because remember, there was a wonderful guy. Everybody loved him. He was the most beloved person in the world at that time, maybe even loved more than Jesus was. And his name was Adolf Hitler. And the little kids, 12 and 13 years old, what they call the Hitler Youth Movement, they swore an allegiance to this person, and their goal was to eliminate inferiors, get rid of. And when they eliminated inferiors, these great artists, people that could create music, was killed and their families were killed. Those that could invent instruments, those that were great doctors, those that had history and all kinds of level of humanities, was murdered and killed for this guy that everybody loved, because this guy that everybody loved put people in their little compartments. Jews, kikes, all the lesser human beings. And we here in the South, yeah, there's always going to be rumors of all that stuff. People are to just give themselves a break and let the kindness of your heart come out first in a situation we're having. Um, let the kindness come forward first, and then later, if they find out truly later that this is the reason, well, that can be corrected through your manpower, through your various organizations. Make sure that they're better trained, capable of performing their task. Uh, that's just me. I won't get caught up in putting in people in compartments, because when I talk to you, Tom Bailey or Toga, or Tara, or Dave, I don't know nothing about you personally. I don't. I just know how you come off when we speak, and you don't know that much about me, other than what I convey to you in our dialogue. Be a human first. Live your life to where you wasn't responsible of starting a rumor. There was a commandment given: if you believe in anything more mightier than yourself, in your God, whoever you call your God, and what kind of religion you have is your business. You really have to consider other people's lives. Let them live them. You're not going to be the judge of them. You can make accusations and be judging of people, but there was a little bit of discussion about that when they wrote down the rules of living a good life. And one of them is not to spread gossip. Labeling is control. And that's how you do. And here's what I can do. I can take, when I put people in compartmentalize my way of life, and I put people in these compartments, I will take this compartment over here and wage war with it. Mentally, I can arrange for these people here in this compartment to hate these people over in this department over here. These compartments here, these are the ones that are my loyal compartment people. These over here are the dregs of the earth. You know, these right here needs to be eradicated. I'll take these people over here and use it to exterminate those over there. I'm in control. You're a rounded human being because you read, and you read. If you narrowed your reading down to just things that would not give you answers, you're reading seeking the answer. Whether you're reading a book on the math equations, or whether you're reading books on wisdom, you're seeking for a higher level of knowledge. And you're well-rounded because you can just flow in with all the different kinds of people. Because the first thing you're not doing is coming in and looking for your group that totally identifies with you. I have a lot of people that does not agree with anything I have to say. And that's the way it should be. You don't have to agree. Well, what I'm saying is they don't hate me. And I don't hate them. I've had people come right here to this house would be just, we would have nothing in common. They come to visit. They come to visit Old Mack and spend some time with him. And they're afforded the respect. And even though I don't even agree with them politically or religiously or whatever, they're welcome in my house because I'm not going to put people in a little compartment so I can manipulate them. I don't look for those compartments that align with me. In fact, some of my best friends totally don't align with me. they have their own life, and that's what makes the world so beautiful, and we have so many differences of opinion. It's just when we start working people against one another for your own self-interest. I imagine your tedious work when it comes to, charts and graphs and all the things that you have to do. You can probably get yourself deeply involved in it because you consume a lot of energy in that department, and probably do it quite well. But I admire the ability that you have to float amongst all the different kinds of people that you're going to encounter when it comes to humans on this earth. I was born and raised in a deeply segregated Alabama. I was born in 1940 when the Klan they would be everywhere. And back in them days, everybody concentrated all of their hate towards a single race of people. Like Hitler had his issue with the Jews. Here in the South, we have a real dark history. And I was a part of it. I lived in a segregated world where my birthright gave me more rights because of the color of my skin than these other people. We was raised that way. My father raised me that way. My sisters, they was raised that way. But what we did when God came into our lives, we understood that God made these people, and He didn't make them for us to torment or to belittle or nothing. He made, just like He made the bullfrog, He made all living creatures. And once we accepted that fact, we began to realize humans are human beings. I've got some friends of mine that's whiter than I am, and they're dumb as a day old chicken. I ain't damn bullshitty. They're the dumbest human beings I've ever seen in my life. Can't be educated. Just dumbass people that hate the concept of education. But I love them. They're human beings. So, and I'm going to tell you, the dumb as a rock, day old chicken starts talking about them other races, and they're dumb as a day old chicken. And they get a good gathering of people together that can lead some kind of an insurrection against them other people because of the color of their skin or the religion that they choose. A lot of people don't get a choice in choosing a religion. They're born into a religion, and it's so traditional and part of the family values that they have no recourse. They just go that direction. And we find that to be the same of any religion. And they begin to use religion against one another. My religion's better than your religion. But there's no basis to it. I think there are advantages of being white. I'd be foolish not to be able to admit that. Um, but I don't think there was a race created. Or you take, I can give you an example. You see those people from India. They're from different regions of India. And what do you see at the spelling bee? Who wins them spelling bees? It ain't a boy from Birmingham, I'll assure you of that. They don't come from Dallas. Uh-uh. Now, these people that you like to look at them with a jaded eye because they don't have the same skin color you do, and maybe a little bit dark around the eyes or something. Brilliant people. We have been given all the technology that is available here as an American students, so many levels of education, and yet some of them comes away from the educational system in America dumber than a day old chicken, dumber than a red brick. And yet these people live an oppressive lifestyle, earning 30 cents an hour with high tech jobs, paying that kind of money, and yet brilliant. They just haven't had the exposure to all the technology that we have. No, there was never, I don't think there was ever a race built that was inherently gifted of being smarter than any other people just because of the color of their skin. I don't believe in that. How could you call it a just God if he did that? He created a whole race of people for our enjoyment of belittling and feeling superior over. No, I don't think that's the way it's supposed to work. Yes, I have noticed that, Toga. Oh, yeah. That's right. The Japanese, well, I'm going to tell you, I'll tell you something else that the Japanese were so noted for. In the early years in the 40s, the best optics in the world come from Switzerland and Germany and that part of the world before World War II. Then all of a sudden, after the war was over, the Japanese, with technology, began to bring out some of the best optics in the world. I mean, sharp, clear, best optics in the world. Um, yeah, we've seen these kind of changes for those that put people in compartments. They never get a chance to see those advancements because they're only involved themselves with their own little compartment. Sure, a lot of the parents put them in that little compartment, and they never had the strength or fortitude to break out of that compartment. They always stayed within their own group. I think one time when Microsoft was taking off, and we were hiring from India all these IT people. If you picked up your phone, you had an issue, you had to call AT&T. You always spoke to a guy in India. Oh, I will make your life so very, very good. I will make everything happen so perfect. And they would. And you had these people that were the world's greatest IT people. And then one day they took a picture of an Indian guy, an IT in India, on a bicycle. When he was pedaling the bicycle was stationary, but the wheel was turning a generator, and the power went through a little grid and came into his computer, and he was solving your IT problems while pedaling his bicycle to run the generator. Uh, and yet people go, I hate them damn them. You get one of them people, we as Americans, we like to label all the other people. We got names. We call everybody slope head, slant eye, wop, dago, Jew, Jap. Yeah, we we put people in their right compartments. Everybody got to be in their right little compartment. Dagos. We're all have a little bit of Archie Bunker in us, and that's still alive and going well today. None of that has changed. Yeah, yeah. So what I'm saying is, people that was cussing the IT guys, because of their accent and their overzest to try to please you, uh, we find ourselves amongst that same group of putting people down. But yet, when you look and see what they had to do to be able to get there, But Tara, I got a feeling you probably hear it all. You hear everything in the, when you're out on the road, the good and the bad and the ugly and the worst and all that kind of stuff. I know I did, and um, it was pretty entertaining for me when I was a truck driver because before I was a truck driver, I was an engineer. I was a rocket scientist. Old Mack, he was the rocket man. I put 1,053 ICBMs in the ground ready to go. Oh, I drove for 6 years over the road. When I retired, when I was out in the field, you have a license here in America called the CDL. Rockets and flags, man, that's America right there. You have a CDL that gives you the authority to drive a big rig. Well, my company, since we worked in all these military facilities, one of the requirements a long time ago, when we first started out, we had to have a chauffeur's license, and then we had a special GSA license, and then they came up with a thing called an endorsement for combination, which if the government endorsed you, you could drive any combination rig, trailer, truck, tractor, van, you name it, any combination. It's called a combination license. And then I believe it was in the 70s, somewhere in that period of time, they went to a thing called CDL. And then that CDL gave you the authority to drive a big rig. Well, I had my CDL. So when Angelique and I, one day, she wanted to go with me. I was going to show her how to fill out a resume to get a job. So I went, they had a sign on the computer that they was hiring truck drivers. So I went up there and I wanted to show her the process of doing the resume and all that stuff. So I got with the HR people at a trucking company that I went up there. And while we was doing this, they asked me, would I be interested in driving? I said, oh, hell no, I'm retired. They go, we have a pretty good benefit package and all that kind of stuff, and we can make some special concessions for you. And hey, we walked out of there that day. She learned about how to fill out a resume, and also, hello, Ray Moto Life. Hey, I saw you came in early up there, and I was going to speak right after Thomas Bailey there, but I got on a little roll there. Um, Anyhow, I came away as with a job, and knowing that I'm retired, and I had an open-ended job. I could leave it anytime I want to. It would be no hard feelings. So I spent 6 years, and I drove all over America. Had a really good time, and I took my video with me, my camera. We was into drones, flying drones, and so I'd get places that are so beautiful. I would whip out the drone and fly it and make some videos, and then I'd took my camera, big shoulder mounted camera, and did videos. Yeah, I drove one time on Oliver, a big land moving Oliver. You may not have seen it. It has like 12-foot tires in the front engine. It has a big old V8 engine sitting out there, and it's got a belly dump behind it. It's for using for building roads. I think they call it a pan. And you hydraulically you could load the thing up and close the door and haul it and dump it and and that was made by the Oliver Corporation. And it didn't have a steering wheel; it had a joystick, and you run the thing with a joystick. It had the one I was driving had a 318 Detroit diesel in it. Yeah, like an earth mover. It was a nice one. Yeah, pan. My brother and I, we were working in the San Joaquin Valley when I got out of the Army. We went out and we started working. We were building dams. We were building holding ponds. Each of the holding ponds was 1,800 acres. And we built them for the Spreckle Sugar Company in Mendota, California. And you got to go around and around, and you got to keep taking the dirt down here and taking it up here. And you go around this levee and you build these ponds that are about 15 or 20 feet deep, no more than 20 feet. And you take, when you're processing sugar beets, they use an active lime, and that water coming off the sugar beet after it's extracted the sugar from the beet, the lime, it goes through a centrifuge, and the lime is separated, and that lime goes out into these holding ponds. We've made four. There are 1,800 acres, each one of them, and we built four of those ponds. And we used a pan down in the bottom. We'd take a big old D8 or D7 cat, would push the pan through the cut and load it up, take it up on. You had this ramp that you drove up, big long incline up to the top, and you go around and around and putting the dirt out, and you've got so many pieces of equipment running back and forth, and we both loved that. My brother always ended up being a pusher cat. That's the guy back there eating all that dirt. He was a hard-working guy. Well, Ray Moto, did you get yourself a full night's sleep, or did you have a hard time sleeping and you had to get up, or you got somewhere, you got a weekend, something you got all planned up so you can go and do your thing? We're going to do our thing Tuesday. We're going to take a ride on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. One of the places we're going to the Harley shop on Tuesday. Yeah, retention pond. What happened there is, here's what would happen. You'd fill the pond up with this. Oh my God, for 20 years. Well, once you got a habit of something like that, it's a routine that you'll always follow. When we put the active lime water into those holding ponds, then they would be allowed to settle. And then when they settle down, you'd have like 3 feet of lime, and they'd go in and extract this lime, and you can use it again. You can do this 3 times before the lime did not have enough of stuff to do its job. Good, my God, Taro, starting the day off with a taco. How many times have I done that? I used to like them calzones at the Flying J. Or love to get them calzones. They'd be chock full of all kinds of good stuff. Oh my God. Oh, buddy. Well, you've you know, accidents. I mean, that's just that. I just know you probably have used a knife all of your life. I've got knives that's so sharp. I got one that always reminds me every time I see this knife right here. I always think of toga. I always think of toga. Yeah. I'm too close to the camera, I guess. Anyhow, uh, I like the way it's really engraved. That sucker, I mean, that thing, you can see, buddy, you can shave that sucker. It is really sharp. But anyhow, oh no, yeah. See, you know, doing and using your best judgment, and everything, it's going to happen. Just some things just cannot be prevented. As you know, I was going to show you a picture. Let me see. Let me go back here. I'm going to show you a picture. My son every day has to open up a lot of UPS boxes. He has to open, you know, he works at Volvo and there's stuff being shipped. I don't know if you can see that or not, but he had a box opener. God, you just can't see it. It's cut open pretty good. Uh, he had a box opener, that box cutter, and what had happened was the blade was really dull. So he was doing like that, and he said, "Oh, this is way too hard to do." So he took the screw out, opened the thing up, gets him another blade, turns it over, and when he stuck it back in that place, when he pulled it, it just came straight forward and just sliced his hand open. He had to have 8 stitches in his hand, a couple of clamps in there to hold it together. Yeah, the doctors, they get a little bit leery about having a camera um, on them while they're performing their miracle. I'm going to tell you, when you go to a doctor, any doctor, I don't, here in America, I don't know about other places. Toga, he might be able to tell us, but you go to an American doctor and they take you over into a little waiting room. Um, when they call you up, they take you back to room number 2 or whatever, and they'll set you in their cold room, and you look around and you got all this medical supplies all around you. But right there on the wall, it says, no food in this room. Now, who in the world would go into the hospital and go into that room eating a bucket of chicken? Or eating tacos or eating whatever, taking the food. But they have to put instructions on the wall not to have your food in this room. I thought, I laugh every time I see that. I'll tell you another little story. My wife, Ruth, she says, you're not talking to your doctor because you never speak up. She said, next time you go up there, I'm going with you. And I'm going to tell him a few things. I said, all right. So she went in with me. And so she began to tell him about some of the symptoms and some of the things that she had observed and noticed. And so they had their consultation while I was there, and they were talking back and forth, and I'm listening to all that. And then finally he says, and you know what time of the year this is, don't you? And I said, yeah. He said, just drop the britches there and bend right over here. And Ruth was sitting there in the corner in the chair. And that doctor, I heard that snapping that glove. You know how they like to snap that glove. I believe it sends chills up your spine. He snapped that glove on there, you know, and he got him a big glob of that Vaseline stuff, you know, and he said, he went in to do his thing there, you know, it's called the digital wave. And so he went in there, and I humped up like you know how you do. Ever ain't a man out here yet that don't hump up. And you go, oh. Yeah. He goes in there, and reaches at your prostate and checks it out for gross lumps and softness and all that stuff. When he comes up out of there, my wife was sitting over there, and I looked at her, and my eye right like this. She had a look of horror. She had never seen that ever done before. And so I said to the doctor, when I finally was able to raise up and he gave me a towel to clean up, I said to the doctor, if you'd have removed your Masonic ring, this would have probably went better for both of us. And he turned red in the face, and she went. There's just no end to it. When you get in there, I know when I went up to Fort Jackson, I was doing a physical exam in the Army there, and I remember you go down this long line. You don't have no clothes on now. You have a little thing around your neck, and you got all your stuff, and you're totally naked. And there's 200 people in this building with you going through the same lineup. Now, this is the way it was in the 50s. I'm sure it might be a little bit more humanity to it all now, but you got a little thing hanging around your neck that they put stuff in, and so we get up there, and it's in the Army, it's called a short arm inspection. And when you step up there, he says, skin it back and milk it down. He wants to check you for any leakage or any kind of social diseases one might be bringing into the Army, and the short arm inspection. You get through that, but then he reaches down there and tells you, turn your head and cough. Being a farm boy, we never had nothing. Ain't no man ever done nothing like that to us, and God Almighty. And then the last thing you do before you go out the door, they shoot you with this air gun and shoot all this medicine inside of you. You don't say, what's in that thing? You just keep your mouth shut, step up there, they go on both sides of your arm. And then he says to you, go up and get out there and get on the pull-up bar and do at least 10 pull-ups to work that stuff into your system. Otherwise, your arm's going to be so sore tomorrow, you ain't going to be able to move. And as soon as you step out that door, the guy directs you over there, and you jump up, get on the little pegs on the side, and then you leap up there and grab the hold of the bar. Now, pull-up is when your knuckles faces away from you. A chin-up is when it faces toward you, and that's easy because you got your big guns right here that's lifting your fat ass up off the defying gravity. But when you do the pull-up, that is alien, and they are very serious about the pull-up versus a chin-up. Oh, my God. That was the most humiliating thing. Well, there we go. Next. My wife never went back to the doctor with me. She never went in again. She decided that I was handling the situation very good on my own. And but she had never saw that exam done before. That's like any one of us right here. If you was given the choice of staying home and drinking beer and watching sports on TV, or go up to the hospital with your wife and watch them do a pelvic exam on her. A pelvic exam, when they go in and check all them parts, them lady parts in there, of all the instruments and stuff like that. You would never go back again. I never did go ever, but there are people that they just was curious. They wanted to know. The wife had to be talking about how bad that was and everything. And the guy sometimes, oh, no. So what we got going on for us pales in comparison to some of the crap that the women have to go through with. Well, I think they're more capable of handling stuff than we are. I mean, I have a hard time passing in my bowel stool there, a pretty good nugget, If you hear it splash when it hits the bowl, you know that's a pretty good one. I even have a hard time passing them. I can't even imagine squatting out. My wife, when she had little Donald, 9 pounds and 14 ounces. Now that'll make you walk bow-legged for more than a week. He ended up being a big boy. He's a big old boy. He's one of my biggest kids. He was the last boy, but he was the biggest. Oh, let me tell you, Thomas. I've told this before. So when I broke my leg, both bones in my leg here, in my right leg, they had to do a spinal tap or whatever they call it, where they. Uh, oh, good night, Joyce. Yeah, it's going on 4 o'clock there in your time. I love you. Thanks for joining us. And you know me, I'm always talking. So you always have the opportunity when you're in here. If I get too far out of line, you can say, "Hey, Old Mack, slow it down." So anyhow, I'm laying up in there, and at 1 o'clock in the morning, it's time to change my catheter. And she brings in 4 young women from the college. They're called candy strappers. They're learning. They're nurses in training from the university. They brought these 4 young ladies, and she introduced the 4 young ladies. Nurse was right here to my right. 4 ladies over there, and they were going to learn on this night how to remove and replace a catheter. One of them's job was taking the catheter out. The other one was getting the catheter prepared to go in. And you know, they each one of them had a role they had to play in this remove and replace of the catheter. Oh my God! See, everything's dead down there. It's all dead. I've got this. I can't move my toes. I can't move nothing. Everything just. There ain't no feeling. There's no portion of that body down there has any feeling in it. No, I don't think many guys would be making good women. I don't think we could. We don't have what it would take, especially in that baby, pooping out them babies. Woo, woo. Ah, I've been right there in the room when they're crowning. Um, and I look down there and I go, "Oh Lord, have mercy!" Mm, mm, mm. It was it was a bad thing to watch, but I had to bring myself to do it. I wish I'd never done it. I didn't even like looking at that. Ah, but I've heard people say it was a curse that was put on women. I don't believe that, because Adam and Eve and she bit of the apple, and from that time on, she had the pain of childbearing. No, and I'm gonna tell you, Ray, and you know this. There's a lot of men that are afraid of a strong woman. Oh, I'm talking about they'll walk a mile to go around a strong woman. And I'm gonna tell you, most women are really strong. We can't live without them, and we can't live with them, and can't live without them. The world stops going around. Um, I just, I'm just happy that we have, people that are strong enough. And how about so many women that possibly due to some kind of a physical capability, they can't have children, and all they want is to have a child. And most of us guys are avoiding having children. I mean, me, I was irresponsible. I liked the making process, but I never liked, well, I love my children. But what I'm saying is, when I got the news, hey, I'm going to have a baby, we're going to have another baby, I didn't go, oh boy, oh man, man, I'm so excited. They go, oh, because knowing financially, I've got a burden for the next 18 years to make sure that that child is going to have what they need to get through life. Oh, golly, yeah. Having, to go back to school and step up your level of education to better improve not only yourself, but the living standards for your family. Um, and yet, I'm going to tell you, what always amazed me, my wife worked. And when she come in from work, she would be happy. She'd come in and she was happy to see me. And sometimes I'd have her a glass of wine and not all the time. And she'd say, it won't be long. I'm going to go get us something started to eat. And she'd get in there in that kitchen. I'd be watching Wide World of Sports. And I hear some things rattling around, the most beautiful sounds, that pot, pans, the sink, hot boiling water. You can hear all that stuff going on. And she'll say, go ahead and go ahead and go wash up. I'm putting it on the table now. After she's worked all day, my lazy ass is sitting there watching sports. And I go in and wash my hands and go in and get to the table, and she's laid out all this food. I go, oh, how? I always wondered, how could my mother have done this? She had 10 kids. How could my wives be able to work and come in and not being hating everything and wanting to kick the table over and kick the dog and scream at you? And they're amazing. Well, I think the lesser man has a hard time dealing with a strong woman. When I married Ruth, we were together 33 years. I told her at the very beginning I did not take her to raise. She was more educated than I. She had more education than me. And I told her that I did not take a new wife to raise. By this time, she had already been married multiple times, and that was my wife number 5. We both knew what we wanted in life. She had her space. When she took a vacation, I bought her a new truck. I still have that truck. It's out here. That's one I drive now. I bought her a new truck, and she drove to Washington State. Her and Angelique took off, and they drove to Washington State. That's 3,000 out and 3,000 back. She takes vacation. She'd go out to Texas and visit her brothers. I didn't need to go with her. I had animals here, had to be taken care of here. When I went on my vacation, she stayed here and took care of the animals. Well, I'm from old school, Ray. We have probably quite a bit of years of difference between um, you and I. We come from the old school where it was protocol, things that you had to go through the protocol. You know, biblically speaking, you're living a biblical life, Ray Moto. You're only 44 years of age. You're living a biblical life because in the early years, they wasn't this big ceremonies. They begot a wife. Sometimes it's an arranged wife that was given to them. You know, You know, back in them days, you begot a wife. Go forth and populate. And when people tell me that they're living with their spouse and they didn't never marry or whatever, that is their business. I don't get up in their business, and I don't hold nothing against them. If you can make it work out, you know, that you can live cohabitation where after a while you've been together 15 years, you're still cohabitating and never did go through the formal to get that piece of paper that says that you've been blessed by giving me $30, and now I can bless you with a certificate that says you're entitled to get married. "21 years. God bless you, man. I'll tell you, I'm not opposed to that at all. Uh, you will never hear me say I have never taken any kind of position about your lifestyle or anybody that, you know, that didn't get married. I lived with my girlfriend for 2 years. Her and I had talked about marriage. She was a Mexican woman. She was born in America, but her parents were Mexicans, Spanish, Mexican Spanish. Father was from Spain, the mother was from Mexico. And I never, we talked about it, but we lived together for 2 years. And it was like going to the carnival every day. And living with her was, like I say, like being at a carnival. It was entertaining, and knowing that anytime I wanted to, I could pull up stakes and leave with no questions asked. And that worked out good. I like that Willie Nelson song. I think he sung it with somebody else. All the girls I've known before. Yeah, Togo, you're from a traditionalist country, and our all the marriages that we were involved in was basically from the religious end of it, and also the children, you know, so they would have a namesake, a documentation proving their namesake. Um, but today, but today we have a thing here in America. We have a thing here in America where the state, if you live with a woman, or if a woman lives with a guy for 6 straight years, on the seventh year, they're legally married. A lot of states have common law wives. Maybe the years may vary in some states, but common law, sometimes some states, your common law, as soon as you cohabitate in the same house, sharing the utilities, living under the parameters of marriage, you actually are entitled to a lot of things. As your daughter's grown up now, they are well, I'm sure they've grown up, but now you've been married 21 years, so you probably have some children that is out of school, high school, or maybe into college. Okay. Well, you feel like you've accomplished something once your kids are out of school. on their own. I'm really pleased that all of my children have their own lives that they live. They don't need nothing from daddy. They need his love, same as I need their love, but they don't have any reason to have to call on daddy. They make their own living, have their own homes. My last son, he didn't have his first baby until he was 50 years old. And the baby this year will be coming up on 4 years of age. If you've done your job right there, Ray, they will want to go out on their own. They will want to go. They won't be Klingons. They won't cling on. In other words, the empty nest syndrome. That's you may suffer a little bit once the kids are gone, but you have so many families now that have these Klingons. They live in the basement. Son, 27-year-old, living in the basement. And that ain't no life either, because you never showed them any strong love. Strong love is when you encourage them to get their life started. And if they've got character in them, they're going to want to get out on their own to have their own life. uh, yep. My son, my baby son, he married this girl. They were in college together. She was a double major English teacher. She was got her second. Yeah, she was a double major in education. Um, we got the opportunity. Well, I discovered that I had cancer growing in my body and I needed to be at UAB, the hospital here in Alabama. And we got an opportunity to get back here on the farm. So, in a moment's notice, we called Century 21 and see if they could sell our place. And they came out on Thursday. They told us what the market was. They said, we'll put some signs in your yard. So they came back on a Friday and put signs in the yard. And they posted my place on Century 21 on their listing. I went over on the computer and looked it up, and there was my house listed. Saturday morning, I get a call around mid-morning, just before noon, and they asked if they could come out tomorrow, which is Sunday, which was Mother's Day. And then she'd had planned this big dinner and everything, but she says, "Yeah, okay, let them come out." So the family came out, and they came out on Saturday. They came out Saturday to look at the place, and then they called and asked if they could come out on Sunday to finalize our offer. So they posted it Friday. The sign went up Friday. They came out, looked at it on Saturday. Sunday, they came over and they bought the house. He brought his dad down, and his dad gave me $6,000 in cash right there to buy some of my things I had at my place, like a riding lawnmower and a rototiller, and he bought some things from me. He paid me $6,000 for that. They really wanted the house, and so we were cashed out. But we had a rule: we had to be out in 28 days. Well, we just loaded up. We were gone. I get a call from my son, and he said, "We came out to your place, and there are different people living there." We didn't have time to get on and call everybody like, "Hey, look, I got a chance to sell the house." And in 3 days, everything had changed. That was my retirement home. I bought that property and built a home there to have a retirement home. Anyhow, They didn't even know he was gone. And the thing is, what if I'd have called the family together and said, Mom and I are thinking about moving to Alabama. Oh, Dad, don't go. No, I knew what I had to do. I had to get down to UAB for this oncologist to do his thing. So it was really sudden. And here we are. They understood. After a while, they realized I did not abandon my grown children. I just made a decision and stuck with it and done what we had to do. I wonder if my little girl, I know she's asleep. It's only 6 o'clock, but let me see if I can get her to see if she left her phone on last night. She usually turns the phone off. It would be nice.
Hey, it's Angelique. Sorry I missed your call. I'll call you back when I can. Thanks. Bye.
At the tone, please record your message.
I didn't think she'd be up. Yeah, you realize that as soon as your kids are gone, you're free to go and do the things that you've put off doing because of the kids. My sister's the same way. My sister had just left here a while ago. She raised her family. I'm talking about she did it basically by herself. Her husband was not family oriented. Let's put it that way. He was work oriented, and all he thought of, just always working. And but she raised her family, and she basically had to do it by herself. Yeah, you're living your life. You're not living your children's life. Once they are educated, they're out and they've got their lives squared away, and you produce some good kids with moral values, and the values that's going to keep them strong. Yeah, of course, they're going to be the deal with the new son-in-law or whoever they cohabitate with. You may not like the guy, but if you love your daughter, you have to, unless he's abusive. I would knock mother out in a heartbeat. If some sorry low lifer touched one of my girls and hurt them, I would. I wouldn't. That's the only time I'd interfere if she happened to get connected up with some low lifer that would hit a woman. Yeah. But if you raised them right, they're not going to take a low lifer. A lot of times, children are browbeaten, belittled, and stuff, and so they to get away from it, from you especially, or your wife, your mother, or whatever. They want to grab the first thing that comes by, whether it's a carny or something that ain't going to please you, because they want to get away. They want to get their life started. You lay down a good foundation for them, and I have a feeling, Ray, you have probably laid down as good a foundation as you could lay down. Your girl's going to make logical decisions, and they won't need your input as much as you want to say something. You just have to bite your lip and move on. Because ain't none of them ever going to measure up to you, Ray. You're the father of that child. Ain't none of them ever going to be measuring up to you, no matter how good they try. They're going to have flaws, but it's her flaws that she has to deal with, not yours. Oh my God, what a worthwhile cause, being a nurse, a child counselor. Those are all great goals, place, that's humans helping humans. And I'm all in favor of that. Well, let me see. It is 6 o'clock my time, 7 o'clock. I got to make sure I get off here before the coffee time. I think they go on with coffee at 8:30. Yeah, 6:50. Oh, you're on the same time as me. I'm at 6:15 as well, almost 6:15. Um, so we're on the same time zone. You you set an example by your caring, and they are going to follow suit. We're in this big old world together, and we have to all of us try to do our part to get through life. Not only get ourselves through our lives, but to help others reach back and give that hand for those that are not quite capable of pulling their load at this point. All good qualities have in a family. Yeah, I think I'll stay on a little bit longer. I just don't want to, as long as my signal's holding up, I will stay on a little bit longer. But I don't want to interfere with those guys. But I don't think they start until about 8:30 my time, which would be 9:30 their time. It's hard to say. This is Saturday, so there'll be coffee this morning because I believe Moto does the coffee Tuesday through Saturday, or I don't know. They him and Sick they got the coffee, and after coffee, uh, I used to do a morning show too every morning, but then I couldn't maintain it because of my signal on my radio, my TV, my computer. I didn't have enough internet. Yeah, but 8:30 Central. Okay, we still got a couple hours before we have to worry about it. Maybe some of the morning crowd will get in here because right now, see, it's 6 in the afternoon, 7 in the afternoon in Australia, and we've already had Dave in here this morning. Dave blessed us with a visit. He's going to Fremantle, go drink cold beer. I do like a cold beer. Fremantle is over there by Perth, right on the coast. And my son, when he was on the USS Ingersoll, he pulled into port in Fremantle and pulled his ship up for a 590-foot long destroyer. And they was treated with the utmost courtesy. Oh man, that's something. Yeah, Tara, that family when they start leaving home and that empty nest thing is, I'm gonna tell you, I was a poor father in this way. I worked all of my life, worked at the company so much and traveled. I would be gone a year without any of my children. I had to be gone a year. You have to, every time you was deployed, you had to take a minimum of 1 year. You didn't have no choice. And when you went out there, you didn't have no choice when you took that assignment. So I missed all my children's plays and all my children's games, and I missed all of them because money, money. Oh, absolutely. And then, and as when they become adults, if you got the chump change, there's a situation where they would be able to get into this house, but they got to have the first and last month rent, and they got to have a deposit, and they got to have this kind of stuff. And knowing that both have, they're going to have a good job, you know, they got a good job, but getting in this apartment, it makes it closer for them to work. It don't hurt for you to give them that money, knowing that they're going to pay you back. They might pay you back. Well, they have every intention of paying you back. But yeah, it doesn't hurt to help them a little bit. You know, one thing I ain't going to do is pay you out of jail. You get your ass in jail, you do the crime, you're going to do the time. That's the way it is in our family. Don't come whining to me if you've done the crime. We have a relative in Texas through my family side of the family. For the last 30 years, he's been in and out of prison. And his family actually have broke themselves. They have sold everything and provided all the support they could give him for all the lawyers and stuff. And no sooner as he gets out of hot water, he's right back in again. So you can allow yourself to be a victim by your own family. You put a little bit of backbone in your character and exercise a thing called tough love. You love your child, but you're not going to enable them to be a criminal. We've had some. My son, I went out to Washington, I believe it was 2019. I go out there a lot. I have made many a trip out there. And one of the trips out there, him and we went bar hopping. He was in the Navy, and he's just like me. He likes a good cold beer. But we went to a place called Slim's Last Chance. Slim's Last Chance. I believe you could probably look it up. It's still in business. Slim's Last Chance is a bar down by the old Kingdom Stadium, big concrete stadium they had, and Slim's Last Chance makes some of the best chili. We went down and we had a couple of drinks and eat that chili. Oh my gosh, it was good. It's a biker bar. The biker bar is really famous. They have really good. They've had all the big name entertainers have been there. They've usually always got live music. They're more of rock and roll. heavy metal. They're not into grunge, but man, what I got a picture of him and I don't know if I don't think I have it in the phone, but him and I, the lady that the waitress, she took our picture at. Oh, I had a big old beard. My beard was way down here then. I had a. She liked my beard. That little lady did. I never drink alone. I do. I have to say this. I do have a cold beer by myself, but I don't never just go open up a bottle of Jack Daniels and drink it all the way down by myself. I've never been that miserable. I like to drink with somebody if I'm going to have a drink. Beer is just cold and refreshing. If I come out from mowing the line over there, there's a good possibility that I'm going to have a cold beer when I get in. It'll be in a cold, frosty mug, and it'll be so good. I wonder where Ray Motobomb is. Ray Motobomb, Virginia, not Ray Motobomb. Ray Motobomb, Virginia. I thought something didn't sound right there. I wonder where he is at this morning because it's already after 7 his time, and yeah, he's got to work today. Well, look how many Ray. I thought Ray, and then Ray Gregory, and I've actually I've run across a Motobomb at 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, 2 o'clock my time would be 3 his time. He kind of keeps a lot of long hours too. He lives on spam, man. He loves that spam like I do. He can make a meal of it. Angelique made us a sandwich last night. Um, jalapeno jalapeno bread, jalapeno cheese bread. We bought it at the Amish bakery. Jalapeno cheese bread with turkey breast mayo. It was oh my gosh, that was a good sandwich. Just enough of pepper in the bread to kind of spike up the turkey breast, smoked turkey breast. And I woke up this morning a might bit hungry. As soon as she wakes up in there, I'm going to get her to eat me some coffee. Motorbomb, Virginia is such a human. That when you think about those beers, Tara, you're shuffling your load down the road and knowing that you're going to be back in your own castle with your guitar in hand, feeling good about yourself and having that cold beer. That's what keeps you going down the road. Them thoughts about when I get home. I had to lay over in I think it was no, not Fargo, South Dakota. It was it might have been Fargo. It was one of those South Dakota towns. I had to lay over like for the weekend. And I went over there And every night before going to bed, before getting in the sleeper, I'd down me a few cold beers and go crawl in that sleeper. It was it was in the wintertime. I remember how cold it was. One time I crawled into bed over there, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where I was at. I crawled into bed after the bar closed. I went out there and crawled into the bed. I can't leave till Monday. No sooner I got in my sleeper there, I heard a tap on the window. I looked out there, and there was a little lot lizard girl. Oh my God, it was freezing out there. So I rolled the window down, and she asked if she could sit in my truck for a little while. And I let her sit over there in the truck. And I got back in my sleeper, but I left the curtain so I could see. She got in there to get out of the cold. When her time was up, when she was ready to go, I think she saw a new JB Hunt truck pull into the park there. She spotted a new customer. She hopped out of the truck and they call them lot lizards. Of course, you've heard that term, but how could you turn a human being down when they knowing they're suffering in the cold? My old feet are acting up today. I got neuropathy in my feet. That's the reason I'm up early. I got up at 3:15. My feet would not let me sleep any longer. Tara, do you do a lot of barbecuing? You're a Texas girl, and you probably like mesquite brush for mesquite smoke flavor. I know I eat a lot of barbecue. When I was stationed out there in San Antonio, Texas, so we eat a lot of barbecue. When I was at Whiteman Air Force Base, yeah, I have to agree. I was started off on, and I got off on another tangent. Motovomb has such caring and compassion for his fellow human beings. He worries about people. He'll send them an email. How you doing, buddy? It's in his nature, and thank God there's people that has a shoulder to lean on if you need it, a moral boost, or a pat on the back. Yeah, it's easy to make a person a victim from their kindness. People will take advantage of it. I guess it's human nature. But I think he prides himself on helping people, and that is important. So back to my barbecue, I was sent to Knob Noster, Missouri, Whiteman Air Force Base. I had to go do a year down there. And just over there in Lamont, 6 miles away from Knob Noster, was the world famous barbecue place. And the reason it was called world famous is every month, like clockwork, that barbecue place would pack up 300 barbecue sandwiches and a big side of big brisket onto a C-141 that flew out of C at the time, Knob Noster, Whiteman Air Force Base was home of, it was a Strategic Air Command base. And they'd load that C-141 up full of that good barbecue and it'd go to Saudi Arabia. It'd fly from Nob Nostra, Missouri to Saudi Arabia. And they would haul that barbecue. You know, there's not a lot of good barbecue places in Saudi Arabia, but they would haul that barbecue in there, and all the airmen would just wait for that plane to land, you know, to get their home barbecue. You imagine the stuff would still be basically fresh because it'd be just cooked, packaged, and went out on the flat, and 12, 15 hours later it'd be there. There's a guy came on to my live feed, been a week or so ago, and you might have been around Remoto when he showed up. His name was Ike Roebuck. He just goes by Ike. And him and I go back to the old trucking days. When I told him I knew him, like we've been knowing one another for 30 years, he said, hell, longer than that. Because he went back all the way back during the trucking days. Hello, Mrs. Lottie. Hello, Miss Lottie. Good seeing you here this morning. I got a notification. Looked like I'll be seeing my Frogzilla sweatshirt around the 12th, 11th or 12th of February. So that's just around the corner. So it's already the first day. So I'm looking forward to it. Especially, I like the cannabis and the frog, like a lily pad. Instead of a lily pad, it's a cannabis leaf, and that's going to go over good in Alabama. Oh man, chasing ghosts, Tara. I like anything cooked in a cast iron skillet. Fried taters. Oh, you can't make a tater taste any better than a cast iron skillet. I just paid, I told you guys about this the other day. I paid $150 for a skillet up at Costco. That skillet will probably never get used. I got it hanging up there just for the decoration. It's so pretty. Because when I go to fry something, I break out. Now, Angelique has a hard time lifting the big cast iron skillet, but it's got another little handle over here, and you can, because it's a big cast iron skillet. And yeah, when it comes to frying pork chops, oh my God, they taste so good in cast iron. Fried potatoes. We do a lot of cooking here. You see us eating out a lot, but we also cook a lot. She's already told me, I believe today we're having fish and chips. Yeah, we're going to have fish, curly fries, and coleslaw. Well, the secret, of course, Lolly, as you know, the seasoning, when you've got it done right, they're really good. I have baked a lot of biscuits of mine, made cornbread, nothing sticks in it, you know. This was my wife's roof skillet, and I never used it because out of respect for her, it was her favorite skillet, and I never did use it. I went out and bought all these Teflon and all these beautiful skillets and stuff, and now we're back to using cast iron. You got to have an arm on you to lift them and everything, and they're a little bit heavier, but it just brings back such great memories. Oh, when you look at that skillet, all black, that skillet is so black, you know, all around the thing. You know your skillet. It don't have that old gray cast iron look no more. It's got that black. It's when you pick a big old black beauty up, you know. we name all of our skillets. We got one she calls Old Blue. It's got a blue enamel on the outside, and it's one of those thick with ceramic coating in it and everything. She calls that Old Blue. Then we got a wok pot. She's got it named too. We got a name for all the skillets. I know Teflon is bad for you. I know we don't. I use the word Teflon. We only get that diamond coated, and you know, and it says none of this stuff is in here. But and we buy the stuff that you can scrape with a fork or a metal spatula, or you know. But eventually they break down, and when they do, when I begin to see signs of breaking down, they're not held up, put away as like a trophy. No, they're cast out like the dog they are, you know. I got those look like a half a ear of cornbread. When you pour it in, yeah, it makes little cornbreads. I love them, especially I like it with jalapeno pepper in mine. I've got one of those skillets too, and one of those cast iron bacon thing. I spray a little butter palm in there, you know, and then put the cornbread mix in there, and it's golden brown and beautiful brown on the top. Yeah, those are really nice. Yeah, I use a wok. We make a lot of stir fry. In fact, we did stir fried rice 2 days ago. Chicken teriyaki stir fried rice, sticky rice, if you will. Oh my gosh, it was so good. Yep. Well, the kids will eat more bread that way. They'll eat the cornbread and stuff, um, when it looks like little ears of corn. Yeah, we do. We put jalapeno in it sometimes, and I have even mixed in my cornbread mix cream corn, and it gives it it makes it more moist inside, but it golden brown on the outside. And my kids always like that too. Run across whole grains of corn, a kernel of corn inside the cornbread, cream corn. Ain't nothing like mother's cornbread or her biscuits. Oh, when we was little kids, my mother would have her dough all in this big bowl. She'd mix it all up, and she rolled her biscuits in her hand. She'd roll them around, and she put them over there. She'd dip her back of her hand, her knuckles in this hot oil that's on the stove. She'd dip it right over there, push it down on each biscuit. You can see the imprint of her knuckles in the back of the biscuits. She'd push down that oily on top of the biscuits. When we was standing there, by little old barefooted kids right beside of her, she'd pinch us off a piece of dough and she'd hand it to us and we'd roll it in our hand, a little baby biscuit like that, and we'd lay it up on the stove. You got a place where you open the door up and put your wood and your coal and stuff in. Well, it has a little flat part up here, and you'd lay that little biscuit and you'd take your fingers and turn it over. Oh man, you'd eat that biscuit and it'd be so good. On a cold morning, your mama making biscuits, and you're standing there just waiting for to get the first biscuit. Yeah, my mother always put lard in the biscuits, and they was delicious. I took a lot of biscuits to school, and she'd cut the biscuit open, and she'd put me a fried piece of fat back in there, and or maybe a piece of spam or a piece of ham or whatever she put in there, and we'd take it to school. And that biscuit laying in that brown paper sack, it'd leave an oily stain on the side of it, And I have traded a biscuit and fatback sandwich to kids for a store-bought sandwich because it was so rare for us to ever get to see sliced bread, real bread. You might have saw the other day, Ray Moto. You might have saw I went to the old cook stove up in Danville, Alabama, 44 miles from here, and they got one of the old cook stoves sitting there in the restaurant, and that was on top of the line back in its day. But boy, that thing has cooked a many a meal. Yeah, it's a beautiful old stove. The door is off, and they stuck the door back inside there. I guess they they're going to put the door back. I remember for years that door was always there. My family has been eating there, I know, for 40 or more years at that same restaurant. Everybody, it's a favorite place to go to. I mean, it's the only business out there. There's no other nothing. It's just a store out in the wood. It's just a restaurant out in the woods. It's the Amish people, and they one of the people that waited on us for many years, going up there for the last 20 years. She lived 4 miles south of me, so she had to drive 48 miles to work one way, and she came down with cancer. And I've told a story the other day. The daughter was working there, and we asked, "Where's your mom?" She said, "Mom's got cancer." And it's Christmas time, and boy, I'm telling you, everybody around my table, we're all retirees. Man, I mean, $100 bills started coming out, and we stacked them up on the table over there. When she came back over, we put the wad of money in her hand. Now, she didn't go there and start counting the bills. But when she left and went over there to the table to start folding napkins and stuff, she took out that money, and you ought to see the tears in her eyes. That was for her mom. We took it up for her mom. It wasn't an organized thing, and just something happened there at the table. Well, we all know somebody that's had cancer. We all know somebody that we've lost from cancer. My wife, a lovely lady, she always prided herself on her looks. She was a really pretty woman. I got pictures of her before we married, and she was really pretty. She had a figure that she always dressed nice. And then she got cancer. They had to take her breast off. And I had to go with her to shop to buy prostheses, look-alike breast, a bra that looks like a bra, looks like breast. And we had to go over there to a store that makes those things. And we cried, her and I did so much. She's not here now. We watched her deteriorate. It took her 5 years to die. I have a video on the Old Mack channel. You can go down through there. It's so sad. You can see us, a picture of us over at the church, and she was dressed up and looking fine. Oh, really a fine woman. Flowing black hair, lots of hair. And then I made a video as she was passing on, and her face was all hollowed out. And it was so hard to see. But cancer is a horrible thing. I closed my wife's eyes. She died. I made Angelique leave the room. My sister, I was on the phone with her because my sister and her go back a ways. And she listened to her as she took her last breath. And I closed her eyes. She was at peace. I looked her in the eyes. So sorry, Lolly. But like I said in the beginning, we've all have experienced losing loved ones. And when we found out this lady that lives 4 miles from me had cancer, it was an easy thing to do. Just put money in the pot. Oh, buddy, I tell you, yeah, it's amazing how they can deteriorate so fast. Well, we're gonna have a beautiful day today. Oh, by the way, I when I got up over there at 3:15, right over there, I put my feet on the floor and I thank God for another day. And we're going to make the best of this day. It's going to be a good one. We're going to celebrate life. And we got a beautiful week coming up. Uh, oh, we're going to be 70 today. 70. Let me see. Let me get my little phone here. I can tell you what it is right now. It's cool right now. It's going to be 70. It's 42 degrees right now, but it's going to be 70 by 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And in this coming week, we're going to peak out at 77 degrees come Thursday, I believe. We got a whole week of 70-degree weather, 77 by Thursday. And then it's going to drop down to like back in the 60s. It does that every year, so we're kind of used to it. Yeah, it's 42. I got my sweatshirt on, and it feels nice to have a little. I got my little heater going over there too. My dog laying right in front of the heater. Yeah, it's gonna be nice today. Yeah, we're gonna ride Tuesday. I think I'm going to the Harley shop. They've been waiting on me a new seat, but I'm gonna pass on the seat and get the grips put on. Um, yeah, that's the problem. Everybody gets acclimated to that short burst of sunshine, then it drops back into the 50s or 40s. Or we have seen freezing in April here in Alabama, and that's a killer right there, buddy. We also have seen 90-degree weather in April. Oh yeah, that living it like it's your last. You just don't know when that's going to be. But you don't sit around and worry about it either. What will be will be. Okay, Sarah, Sarah. Rain and mold. Oh yeah, I lived up in Washington. Mold was a way of life. And another thing, banana slugs. In Washington State, where all the big fir trees, the big Douglas fir trees grow, you got these 6 or 8 inch long banana slugs. Oh my God, them suckers. They leave that slimy trail everywhere. They crawl up your window and leave a slimy trail. You go out there and pull them off the glass window, and I pull them off the patio door or whatever, and ah, I wonder if you boil them, would they taste like chickens? I can't imagine that, eating a slug. Ah. I took Angelique down to Floribama last year, and Floribama is right on the Alabama, Florida, Floribama, Alabama and Florida, right on the line. There's a huge club there. And we went in, the name of the club is called Floribama. And it's got like 4 or 5 different bands in there. It's really nice. It's where spring breakers go. We went down in the spring. And we got down, we went inside there. And as soon as you walk in the door, they were selling raw oysters, oyster on a half shell. And I said, well, do you want to try one of those, Angelique? She said, what do they taste like? I said, oh. I said, they have a unique taste. So the guy said, oh, you've never had a raw oyster on a half shell? No. He said, well, you can do it this way. You take the shell here and you slurp it down. And you can put a little Tabasco on it if you wish, some Worcestershire sauce if you wish. There's all kinds of, we got all these things that you can do this right here. But it said a purist just likes to slick them down. So she said, oh, I'll try it. So she got over there, got in a position, and he scooped it into her mouth, Now, what I would do when I was drinking, I would gup it down, It would be gone. No, she started chewing. Old slimy stuff. I go, oh, good God almighty, girl. She said, yeah, you're right. It is kind of a unique flavor. I go, no, just swallow it. Finally, she finally swallowed it down there. She was grossing everybody at the bar there, Me, I like to put a couple of little hits of Tabasco on them, and then I'll put them in my mouth and kind of swish them because of the Tabasco. I like that flavor, and the flavor of the oyster itself is neat. I just don't like the texture of the oyster meat raw. I like them stewed. I like them deep fried, but I don't like them raw. I don't eat an egg. I don't swallow down a raw egg either. I mean, each to their own. Let me see if I can wake my precious up in there. Because we got to get off here and see it's 8 o'clock on the East Coast time. They'll start their coffee at 8:30. We'll be off here pretty quick. But I'm going to get her to get my coffee coming this direction.
Hey, it's Angelique. Sorry I missed your call. I'll call you back when I can. Thanks. Bye.
At the tone, please record your message.
Will do no good to leave a message. If she ain't awake, she's not going to be bringing me no coffee. I've never had a grill. You put the shell. Is that how you do it? Do you cook them in there? I mean, how do you put the shell on the grill itself, or open them up and lay it oyster up, or do you have something you lay them on a fine mesh wire or something so that you can get them close to the heat. I don't know. You'll have to explain it to me, Ray. How would you grill an oyster? Because I would probably do that. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I could probably do that. Yeah. Because it don't take, it don't take much to cook them firm. I like, oh man. I went to this place called Ivar's Acres of Clams in Seattle, Washington. It's world famous, literally world famous. Ivar's Acres of Clams. I ordered fried oysters. They brought me a platter. We ordered them before our regular meal got there, like hors d'oeuvres, and they had a big plate full of fried oysters. I took my little fork, stabbed me one, threw it in my mouth. I bit into it, and it was scalding hot on the inside. Oh my God. That whole meal, I eat it without any feeling in my tongue. Yeah, cook the oyster inside the shell. Well, you got all the flavor, everything is there. Let's all give blessings to Tara today as she winds her way across the country. She's got several stops to make. She's got a lot of drops. She's shuffling a load today. And oh, well, buddy, go. Hey, tell Sterling good morning for me, and I'm gonna be getting off. I'm gonna be getting off pretty soon, Toga. I'm gonna make room for them boys to get their thing started over there. I like old Sterling. I like to make him laugh. He's got a big old laugh on him. I'll tell you something, it laughs good. That Motobomb is a good laugher, and so is Sick. I had tears coming out of Motorbomb's eyes the other night. I mean, I even watched John laughing hard too up there in Cincinnati. Old Sick was just rolling. Sick had to get up and leave the room. Yeah, it sets a good tempo for one's existence. And it's good laughter. I'm hoping God has a sense of humor when my time comes. It better have a good sense of humor. Maybe overlook a few things. That's water over the dam. When you live your life looking over your shoulders, trying to cling on to the past, you'll never see the future. Yeah, Tuesday we're going to go for a ride. I think I've got a cousin. She's dying of stomach cancer. She's looking really pitiful. I went up to see her over the holidays, and she's looking pretty pitiful, but high spirited. And when I was a little boy, she's a little bit younger than me, a little bit. When I was a little boy, she worked at a drive-in like drive-in restaurant, where the girls all wore roller skates. A drive-in, where you drove your car up and the car hop would come out and take your order and bring your food back, and she run around on skates. She was so full of life and laughed all of her life. And now today, her face is still pleasant looking, even though she's going away pretty fast, because she didn't spend all of her life frowning. She laughed so much and so hard, and that's keeping her going. Now, last time I was up there, she was going for some more chemotherapy. So I need to go and make contact with her before the inevitable. We're going to ride the bike up. She likes my Harley. If she wasn't so frail, I'd take her for a ride on the back of the Harley, but she's pretty frail. I took a guy that was pretty frail for a ride on the back of a jet ski, 140 horsepower, 60-mile-per-hour jet ski. I think it was it's either a 3 or 4 cylinder, really fast. He'd never been on one before in his life. And after we got riding, he wanted me to go fast because he wanted the full thrill of riding on a jet ski. So we had a party boat out there that was all filled up with all my family members in the party boat, like a 28-foot party boat, seating. Oh, they had everything on the thing. So my plan was to come at about 60 miles per hour and make a turn. And this thing puts up a big rooster tail. It's got a pump that shoots water way up in the air. And my job was to get close enough to the boat to throw water over on everybody in the boat. Now, that was my goal. So I told him what I was going to do. So he's hanging on. He's got his arms around me. And as you know, when you drive a jet ski, you have a little lanyard that's on your wrist, and it goes over and plugs into the switchboard so that if something happens. Thank you very much, Lolly. It'll unplug and shut the motor off or whatever. Anyhow, I was in a real steep lean over. I was laid over like this, and they were close to the shore, and there was a few choppy waves. And as I was leaning over, he pulled my cord out. He had his arm around the lanyard, and when he tightened up in that real tight turn, he pulled the cord out, and we immediately rolled over in the water at about 55 miles per hour. We did a rollover. Now, I told you in the beginning he was really frail. He had open heart surgery, triple bypasses, and all that kind of stuff. But before he went, he wanted a ride. And so when I bobbed to the surface, the jet ski was circling around. It makes it go to idle or whatever, because the motor was running. I remember that the motor was running. It seemed like it was. I don't know. But anyway, I seen the jet ski there. But my friend that was with me is not to be seen. I'm looking around, and I'm thinking he's got snagged up on the bottom down there or something. And then all of a sudden his head started to come up out of the water, and I got a hold of him, and he was in a state of panic because he had cowboy boots on, and it was full of water, of course. But I held his head up there. He had a life jacket on, but he was so heavy with the water and everything that, well, he was struggling. Oh, I guess he was in a little bit of shock, but I held him up, got a hold of the back of his collar, and we were out there bobbing up and down and everything. And finally he got his bearings under him and realized he was alive. And we got over there and got him on he didn't have enough strength to crawl onto the back of it. So I had him to hold on to it, and I circled around and drove over to the party boat, and they all reached down and got a hold of him and brought him up on the deck. They just had his wake here a couple of weeks ago. So he got to have a nice ride before his time was up. I wish that we didn't have a wreck, but at least it was another little exciting part in his life. Yeah, he passed on. He was an Air Force guy. He was stationed up in Alaska. And for a Southern boy to be stationed up in the polar region, not in the state of Alaska, but up in the polar region, up what's called the dew line. There's an Air Force base up there that services the service crew for the Nike and the Zeus missiles, and that's what he did. Well, it is 13 minutes after. No, is it 15 after? Yeah, 15 minutes after the hour. I mean, it's 8:15 over there at Motorbomb country. I will go ahead. Anybody have any last words? I know Toga, he's over there with Sterling. And Lolly, I'm sure you'll probably want to go catch the crew there on the coffee, early morning coffee. So I've had an enjoyable 3 hours and 47 minutes that I got to be on a few beautiful people. And you remember this, things I express as a human being are my feelings and not yours. I would never, ever tell you how to live. And however you decide to live is your business. You'll never hear me getting up into your business. You or nobody else. Because all I'm doing is trying to get myself through my life. But over the almost 85 years, I have formed some opinion, and I try my best never to express my opinion about anything, because they are just that, my opinion. And I would never want to influence anybody to be following my opinion. You'll form your own opinion about everything, and that's the way it should be. I'm living my best days of my life. And it don't get no better than this. Other than the physical handicap of the broken leg, and I'm still having issues with moving the leg. Other than a little bit of issues like that, these are the best days of my life. I have the opportunity to be on the air and talk with so many people and to find out how their life is. Meeting Toga from Turkey, I have so many connections with Turkey through military connections. So I have a fondness and a love for his country. I have connections with Ukraine. I have friends of mine that are fighting in Ukraine, not American friends, but people that I call friends, are fighting for the freedom of the Ukraine people. I have soldier sons that fought for our flag. With that, we'll say God bless you, and just get through life. Feel good about yourself. And today, promise me you'll find some way of making somebody happy. by putting that smile on your face. And don't bring them down with your worries or your griefs, because they may be carrying a heavy load. And when they listen to your, not you, Lolly, but any human beings, what the load they're carrying, they also take on that load as well. And it may be just a straw to break the camel's back. Find some way to make somebody happy. And the best thing is, if you make yourself happy today, God only knows how many people you're going to make happy besides yourself. I love each and every one of you. You're special to me. Don't let me down. Bye-bye.